guys, I just want to give you a little bit of historical to that issue. One day we were out there and a bunch of riders going around. And I asked my dad, I said, Dad, what are these guys doing? And you know what my father always said to me? He said, boy, Mono na performode, he said, where are they going to ride? Okay? So, you know, that's where it really started. So for 25 years, my parents never charged these guys. I was part of that myself, okay? I enjoyed the sports. I raced, even my sons, I got hurt and so forth, okay? But the community got together. The military got together. They performed there. One of the first female riders that ever joined there was Ray Tenori's mom, Helen. She was there racing and so forth. They developed it. They have motocross. We have professional riders coming in, like Malcolm Smith. We have riders coming from Australia, Philippines, Japan, as far as California, and up to the East Coast. So the program itself was built by a bunch of people, a bunch of old riders, such like Eddie Sanchez, Henry Simpson, Mike Brown, and other good riders in those days, the Yamaha company. And when my father offered these guys were never charged. For 25 years, my dad only asked one thing, pay the tax every year. And that's what they did. They acquired about 164 lots, acres up there. They came there, you know, that organization company coming at the same time. Black Construction, various brothers, other identity like AK and so forth, you know, incorporated. They came there with their machineries and whatnot and helped out. So I see a lot of kids who have developed that itself in car racing and a lot of those issues. And maybe some of you guys, maybe your nephews, your uncles, or whatever, has been in that track. There was strategy, they were happy. At one time, there was a big one that got killed. My father got sued for $1 million for that time. Okay, but you know what? The organization helped my father. They came back and supported, and they bailed my father out. But that was, you know, but that's not their fault because of negligence part. Safety wasn't there as much at that time. In those days, if you had a big bike, some of these guys had Norton, some of these, you know, bigger bikes, then get in that track. So what I'm trying to get across is when I see these guys, to this day, even when I see people out there, they tell me, Oscar, why is the track closed? The reason why we closed it is because the family has grown. And when the family, they decided, our family had to open and build houses if you come up there now. So, you know, like I said, and they were okay with that. They had to find a new place to ride for the kids to enjoy themselves every day of their life. And it kept a lot of people off the street. Kept a lot of them off the street in you know, especially with the crime today. I mean, just yesterday you heard about that house invasion or whatever, the guy that got kid killed. But you know, maybe that has nothing to do with that. So I'm saying it hurts me because I've been in that organization. My father was never a sport, he didn't ride or anything, but he enjoyed it. People, when they had tournaments or what, we never asked these guys a penny, not even a penny. We could have charged them. But my father was very, and my mother says, you know what, let them enjoy what they have right now. So they did. And one of the things that I'm proud of these guys was, if you ever go up there, they have a sign that's dedicated to my mom and dad. They never forgot my parents. Okay? And I appreciate that. I appreciate that. They dedicated that track to my mom and dad's name. Okay? So for the sake of you guys, I know that you guys have differences of opinion. And that's fine. That's normal. But are we going to deny these guys that want to go back and rebuild that track and have for the young kids and younger generation, you know, to go out there and ride their bikes? That track out there has been utilized for so many things, for car shows and whatnot. And the same thing, one of the things that my dad always enjoyed when he was down there, you ever heard that one bomb? Every Friday night, they would have a bunch of cars get together, they bang each other, right? It's one of those things. You're probably one of them. So I'm saying, all of those years, okay? Really, I've been wanting to come here for many reasons, but because me being going off island for medical reasons, you know. And I just got back and I'm getting ready to leave again, okay? So I'm not, as you know, I'm a Vietnam vet, I'm 100% disabled. I may not look disabled, but I am. Arlene, you look at me, but I am a disabled. But I try to get, I know, at my age and everything. But I just want to give these guys an opportunity. Give them that chance to. That's all they're asking, you know. So find it in your heart, just like my mother and my father. Find it in their heart, giving back something to the community. And we did not even at one point even ask them a penny. All they did was every year they paid the tax. And these guys, you know, so all I'm asking is for you people now to really, really take a look at that, because it could be your grandson, it could be your nephew, it could be your uncle, and I'm pretty sure some of them are written up there, okay? So I'm asking you now to support them. Give them, okay, because they're not there to make money, but just for the sport and the enjoyment of this track. So I ask you now, and you know, I don't want to say any further, but please support these guys, because where are they gonna ride? Out in the street, down in the village of Dededu, or down the main highway, racing and all? And we had problems with that, and you guys knew that. So when they came to ask me back then, you know, that, hey, you know, if it's for the youth and the organization, let's do it. What's gone in the past, let's go for the present now, okay? We got a good future coming, but if we're gonna deny the young generation, then you really, honestly, I don't know. But let's give these guys a chance, because, you know, they're there, they're willing to support, to help these people get to whatever they want. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay?
Thank you for your testimony, Oscar.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I just wanted to, you know, because it's really been boggling my mind in many ways, because I know this thing has been ongoing for so many months. It's just that I've been going all island back and forth for medical reasons, you know, and I'm getting ready to go again. And, you know, at my age right now, I'm telling you guys, I'm gonna be 76 next month. but you know what? I'm still, yeah. I've gone to 4 major surgeries in my lifetime, guys. Let me tell you right now. I busted 2 of my legs when I was in Vietnam. Had a ruptured appendix. Had 4 aneurysms. Last year I had 3 bypass. You know, in the heart. Okay. So you see, but I'm still fighting, and I want to fight for them. Because my father stood and fought for them, like he's always said. "Mano ne boina to fanmode." Okay, let them have their fun, enjoy them. Okay, so give these guys. They're young and they can do good. They can do good. Just give them that chance again, an opportunity, and they can do that. And the CHamoru Trust can still benefit out of this. Okay, they can still benefit. They're a non-profit organization. They're a non-profit. Okay. You know that a non-profit organization, they receive donation or whatnot for that matter. Okay? So much only on that, to that degree. So I ask you again to really, really, really find it in your hearts, you guys, to reconsider what you guys are planning. And give these guys an opportunity. Because really, when it becomes that a reality, it helps the community and it makes this island a better world for us to live. Amen. I'll take any question, any one of you guys. CHamoru, you know, the legal counsel is here, so I wanted to make sure that, you know.
So I'll speak our English, the English language.
Yes, that.
No, I really appreciate everything that you've done. I've been with the Guangdong group way back.
Yes.
So as the
Everything.
So as the flat track.
Flat track,
And
motocross,
also-
everything. International race and all that. Motocross again we did.
So I've been up at your property since the late 60s and early 70s.
Yes.
So like you mentioned, right, the family has grown. So you guys have converted the big track to subdivisions.
Right.
And I like to parallel that to the CHamoru Land Trust,
Okay.
because as you know, you've been a chairperson for the CHamoru Land Trust, and the property up at lot 7161
Yeah.
was cut out to be up to 250 acres. So the parallel I'm trying to share here, just to share with you respectfully, is that the CHamoru Land Trust applicants have grown from the beginning, and we have a fiduciary responsibility. This is not our group, it's the group on the public property. And as you recall, back in '95, when they implemented the rules and regs, then they selected lot 7161 in G.
Right.
So at that time, it was land for the land use, you may recall.
Yeah.
And then it transitioned. Well, we went back to follow the rules and regs or the Public Law 12-226 from 1975.
Right.
So to parallel the family that has grown in the Cross Island, where you're at, the CHamoru Land Trust Commission has grown from before, it was just like 6,000 applicants, up to 8 to 10. Now, with the generation from back then, in the 70s to now, roughly we may have about maybe 40,000 applicants, 40,000. So the question is, the primary mandate for the CHamoru Land Trust, which you know from rules and regs, is to provide residential and agriculture to the qualified recipients. Very, very plain and simple. So if the family has grown from 8,000 to triple now with the first generation from our age group,
Yeah.
we're in the same 70s.
Yeah.
So we already have grandchildren, so that's about 2 generations. So we multiply the 8,000 to 3, so that's about maybe 8, 16, 24,000. And the grandchildren that are coming up that are eligible recipients.
Yeah.
Again, the primary mission of the CHamoru Land Trust is to provide residential and agriculture. So has the family grown under that inventory? Yes. Same as the family has grown in the Calvo compound, and you guys have decided that no more racing, and we are going to subdivide the property and either lease, sell, or issue it to the children, to the grandchildren, to the great-grandchildren. So we're in the same predicament. What do we do, and how do we address the needs of our qualified recipients that have grown from 8,000 to now about 40,000? So that's the struggle that, at least in my part, that's what I am looking at. And are we in favor to support the raceway? Of course, we've been in that generation since the 60s and 70s and 80s. And this property has been identified, which is under the CHamoru Land Trust property, and and we're working with that now. So are we, at least I'm in favor for the drift track and motocross. So, and like you mentioned, where are they going to race? The motorcycle group have already leased the property up at Leo Palace in Zonia. You may recall that area where the tank farm is. So
Yeah, I'm aware of that now.
right. So that's the motocross group for one organization. They've already kind of agreed with the owner of the Leo Palace to do the motocross in that area. So, long story short, we're at this juncture now to address what's in front of us. So,
You know, sir, I don't disagree to what you stated to that, okay? And it goes back to 95, 96 and so forth, okay? In 2010, okay, the late Ben Panginan, okay, wanted me to do an assessment of that piece of property, and we wrote up the law and everything. But unfortunately, it never came to the legislature for that piece of property.
Same one?
Yes. For whatever reason why Ben Panginan never, I was working with Joe Bora at that time, as a matter of fact, okay? And we did a breakdown of all the properties that needs to be. When that piece of property was out there, it was purely old jungle, just jungle up there. There was nothing there. But you know what? The new organization, the track members back then, okay, they got together, okay? push rocks, soil, whatever it needs to get it down to where it is. Okay? So in reality, yes, I do agree with you that we are gonna be needing some of these property. The development is there, they developed it, okay? So all I'm asking is for you guys to consider some sort of, identity for these people so they can also still, and continue on that legacy. Because if you don't continue that legacy, then you know what is the purpose of these riders? What is the purpose for Mr. Ada here to come here and address all these issues? Because this is where it starts. So they need to know because they're left in limbo. This year-to-year contract or whatever you guys want to call it, doesn't work that way. Because, even when I was in the CHamoru Land Trust, one of the things that I did when I got in was I looked at every application. Some of these applications, they dated back 7, 10 years, 20 years. They have done nothing on that reason. And I told Joe, okay, if this person is not developing any, why? Then I'll give it to Mr. Guerrero, or I'll give it to Arlenbor, or give it to Ibanez, for that matter. Okay? So that's how we staged it out. Because in order for that, on some of these properties, I remember one guy came into me and says, what do you want the property? He said, I'm going to farm. I said, how many? He said, I got trees, so I got 10,000 billion trees, and I got mango trees, okay? And I said, but you have the property already over 15 years. He says, well, I'm waiting to retire. Fine, retire. But you have done nothing to get this thing done. I eliminated that portion, and I said, you know what, if you can't, then I'm going to give it to John Doe next door, or whoever needs it. Okay? I did a lot of things up there in the CHamoru Land Trust, but I opened lots and everything, 164 lots behind the Anderson, okay? I worked on that, okay? And I worked with the construction outfit. I worked with people to develop that, down in Agat, we did that, okay? There's ways that you can do what they call with the business, okay? Partnership, open and develop those areas. Okay? I was even Ben Panino at the time was against that. Even at the time, now he's audit, Mr. Cruz. So how do you do that? Because you know what? It's been sitting in the CHamoru Land Trust for years and years, nothing's being developed. I took the initiative, even the governor at the time, Governor Felix Camacho at the time, okay? He didn't have, I thought I was gonna go to jail because something that I did that I think was out of order, and even the attorney, but I had to develop something. Something has to move. So I did some things that are out of context, but I developed properties up in Anderson, up in Agat, and so forth, okay? And it was all CHamoru Land Trust. I opened jumbos, and it didn't cost a penny, not even a penny from the legislature, not even a penny from the CHamoru Land. But you know what? People came to me and said, Mr. CHamoru, my property is in there. I don't even know what lot it is. So, I took it upon myself with Smithbridge. They wanted to lease a piece of property, fine. I told them, I said, you know what? I don't want the property to be leased out. You have the equipment, you have the infrastructure, you can push those bulldozers, clean it up, open it up. And you know what? The same people that I was up there maybe about 2 years ago, and I saw that strip, and I said, wow, people are now building in there. Why? And that's the incentive that you guys can push. Because, we can talk about it and argue about it and so forth. But I took that initiative. Down in Agat, they were hurling. Okay? I had to knock out a mountain and everything. But I didn't cost a penny. Beverly, I saved the government at that time almost $1 million. Almost $1 million. They came down with the equipment and it wasn't paved though, I gotta admit, okay? But the roads were open, they had coral and everything, but people started to move down there now, and I see. So I'm just saying, sometimes I'm a thinker. If I can't think, then I'm thinking, okay, there's gotta be if you can wait. If we're gonna wait for the government, okay? And that's our problem. So these guys are willing to go in there and do things. So all I'm saying to you, I don't disagree to that degree what you're saying. There are people that are needing property out there, and I'm not going to argue with that, okay? Do they need all that land in some location? Yes, they would probably need it, okay? But give them something for the young generation, for the kids. That's what I'm looking at, for those kids that are out there, you know? I mean, I had a boy whose father was riding up there, and he says, Mr. Carlo, I wish you guys were running the track. I said, I'm not looking there, baby. He said, why? I said, because, you know, I don't, but I still get in contact with these guys. I still, you know, and like I said, I just want to help them and for you guys to really kind of fully understand and give them what they need to. Because, like I said, you know, it all boils down to you members, okay? They can only present their argument, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not trying to argue over one, whatever you get, but at least historically, you guys can have a general idea from what I've experienced. And I understand where you're coming from, and Mr. Garrido and Mr. Banis and also Mr. Cruz, okay? I know what you guys are trying to do, but do we just say, just leave them alone, let them figure it out? No. Because I think, in all honesty, you guys have a responsibility too. You have that. You have that responsibility. So we can close the door, we can close that gate tomorrow, even today, right after this board meeting. You guys can go then close the key. Okay? But the reality part is, if things don't happen, okay, then you know what? I'm gonna be very blunt and honest with you guys. That's in your heads, not mine. Because we could have done something and prevent things. Things happening in life, and you know, could happen any time. You know, remember my doctor in Hawaii used to tell, Oscar, you're good at fine everything, but when you walk out that door and you suffer a heart attack or a stroke, that's a different story. So we prevent, right? So that's all I'm asking is, you know, I wanna support these guys because it hurts me because I was a part of that. I was a part of that. I actually rode and busted my legs and my shoulder, but you know what? It's okay. I was part of the game. It's just like playing basketball, you still get hurt. Basketball, football, anything. Any physical sport, you can get hurt. Even sitting down there, you can break a chair. And that happened to me in the election day. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you for opening up the roads. Now we need to put the water power sewer. The cost for water power sewer is about $1 million a mile. So to do the border, to get a bulldozer, tractor trailer, do the survey, cut the property, do the hydraulics, that's just one part of a 20-part process. You know that. So
yes.
Thank you for the services that you've provided for the last 20 years, not now, or 30 years with the land.
I provided that service for the simple fact because, you know, I want to help the communities. I mean, we don't make noise, okay?
Yeah.
We can go down to the legislature, we can go to the governor's office and knock, and that was the end of the story, okay? And the biggest thing was, we don't have the money. We don't have the money.
Yeah, that's the key.
We don't have the money, but you can visualize and do things.
I live in that property that you mentioned in Agate that you cut the road.
Right.
And right now, the road is washed away because of the hydraulics from the mountain.
Right.
So now we're saying, okay, so we did open the road with the gravel.
Right.
But we forgot to do the engineering on the hydraulics.
Yeah.
So the property now that we're mentioning, and you know exactly where you're
Yeah.
talking about, is washed out. Because we didn't do the proper.
Only if they would have followed up on the maintenance portion, and that was already noted at that time, that, okay, public works had to be part of that. But, you know, but like I said, I can't argue that, and that was, but I know, I think if I'm not mistaken, I opened like about 20-some lots there in that, that was the name of that village. In that area.
319.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I opened that road, because there was a patient there that was sick. So he lived all the way in. And when it rains, the ambulance couldn't get in there. So they had to use a 4x4. And, you know, one day I got a call from the governor, I said, figure this out. That's when I decided, okay, I looked at it, holy shit, man, this thing is enormous. And I told Joyce, say, we got a mountain to knock down, we got to open it. And they did. Okay? But it didn't cost us a penny. Okay, it didn't cost us more than us a penny. Okay, but I took that, you know, it was a gamble on my part because, you know, and I said, you know what, I probably might go to jail for this, but it's okay. But I benefit people out there, the same thing up in there in Jigu. So all I'm saying is, you know, be creative. That's all I'm trying to do. Let's just like these guys, okay? They just want to ride on the weekend, enjoy themselves, barbecue or whatever. I enjoyed that because, I enjoyed that because I see them smiling and happy and so forth, And, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys ever rode motorcycle, and I mean, the only reason why I can't ride right now because of my freaking legs. Other than that, I'm getting ready to go for a knee surgery now, to get a knee replacement because my legs are bad. But other than that, I guess, whatever you guys consider and thought of it, just give these guys a chance.
And don't forget, Chairman, this one had a $7 million tax rebate,
Right,
so they had the money
yeah,
to do a tax offset. So
Yeah.
that's different from the general farmer that don't have any subsidy or rebate. So, but again.
But you can utilize that.
We need the money, so.
but you guys can utilize that $7 million, okay? Develop it the right way. So that's what I'm trying to say. A lot of those has been already cleared for you guys. So, I think Mr. Cruz used to work for land management, right? Retired?
No, I started at CLTC since '98, but I also did work at IBAN.
Yeah, I just remembered them, so, but you were aware with those issues too back then, even with, what's her name, Netherlook and, God, I forgot. And I know you worked under also, Monty Muffner back then.
Correct.
Yeah, so, but, given that thoughts, I guess I'll leave you guys to,
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry about that, but
that's okay.
take care and have a nice day, Merry Christmas to everybody. Okay?
Yeah,
Same
happy
to you.
holidays.
See you later. Nice meeting you, gentlemen. Okay. Take care. Have a good day.
So, the real estate, the real property lease agreement, Commissioner Ganis, you wanna explain
Sure.
what you've done?
Yes, Madam Chair. But if I may, before proceeding on the lease agreement, if I could just go back to bring back the history of what this intent of the law is and why why it's a non-commercial, so that we have a clear understanding of why the draft of the lease is the way it's drafted.
Okay.
And that will give a clear picture of where we're at with this lease, with the proposed lease that we presented. First of all, Guam's law mandates that all government-owned land designated for commercial use must be leased through a competitive bidding process, ensuring transparency and fairness. When you look at the potential conflict between the competitive bidding requirements for commercial land leases under Guam's law and, in this case, what's called a sole source lease granted to GMA under Public Law 37, we must take that into consideration that the intent of the law came in as a sole source. It's a special legislative lease itself, law itself. Public Law 37 directs CHamoru Land Trust Commission to negotiate a lease with Guam Motorsports without requiring competitive bidding. In essence, we just bypass the existing law that was created for commercial land use. The non-commercial nature, the law frames the lease as a non-commercial, emphasizing community benefit, non-profit status, and public service. That is the key of what a non-commercial. I'll explain what a non-commercial lease is. The law explicitly overrides competitive bidding process by instructing CLTC to prioritize GMAs due to perceived community interest or legislative intent. Public law could be interpreted as a special, Public Law 37-125 could be interpreted as a special legislative exception to Guam's general leasing laws, which only applies to this specific case. For us, Madam Chair, we got to ensure that GMA's operations remain strictly non-commercial to align with the intent of Public Law 37-125. We must prohibit activities that could be interpreted as commercial, such as fee collections or exclusive sponsorship deals. In addition, we must also document the legislative intent to maintain detailed records showing that the lease is being granted to GMA under a special legislative mandate to justify the sole source agreement. We must also include safeguarding within the lease agreement to require detailed reporting, community benefit obligations, and revenue transparency to demonstrate compliance with the law. Madam Chair, we also got to make it very clear that this sole source lease does not establish a precedence for bypassing competitive bidding in future land use agreements. That's the most important thing that we have to make sure that we emphasize here, is that this is not going to set precedents for other commercial lease where now they go to the legislature to get the bypass competitive bidding process. With that in mind, Madam Chair, I'd like to go back into the law itself, and let me just pull it up here. And the law basically, in Public Law 37-125, and I'll just read what it says. Notwithstanding any other provisions of the law, the CHamoru Land Trust Commission shall lease, emphasis shall, a portion, or all of lot 7161R1 Zigu Guam to the Guam Motorsports Association or its successors entity for the purpose of operating a raceway, related support facilities, and various outdoor events. The CLTC shall, emphasis, negotiate the terms of the non-commercial lease, a non-commercial lease of lot number 7161R1 Zigu Guam with the Guam Motorsports Association within 90 days of the enactment of this law. Now, when we take that law that was given, and I broke it down into each provisions of each sentence itself so that we have a clear understanding. So this process I'm doing basically will lead into the draft release of where we're going. Provision number 1, it says, notwithstanding any provisions of the law, this provision allows specific laws to override other conflicting laws. It does not automatically mean CLTC has violated law if negotiation fails. However, failure to negotiate in good faith could be interpreted as a non-compliance. In this case, we have been negotiating the lease for quite a while already, since the law was passed back in September, I believe. Provision 2 says that the CLTC shall lease a portion of or all of lot number 7161R1 Zigu Guam to the Guam Motorsports Association or its successors entity. The word shall, Madam Chair, makes it mandatory for CLTC to lease the land to GMA. However, the lease terms must be agreed upon by both parties. If GMA, and I'll emphasize the last sentence here, if GMA refuses to agree to the terms proposed by CLTC, the obligation to lease is effectively unfulfilled. And if negotiations fails due to unreasonable demands or refusal from GMA, CLTC basically, it's not possible to fulfill the lease requirements as mandated. That would not constitute a violation of the law, Madam Chair, on CLTC's part. For the purpose of operating a race road related sports activity in various outdoor, the intended purpose of the land as outlined in the provision is strictly for how operating race road related sports facility in various outdoor. If negotiations fail, it does not automatically mean CLTC is at fault, as the provision assumes mutual agreement on the lease terms. So what we're doing here is we provide the terms, conditions, and present it to GMA, and they have the opportunity to agree or not to agree. But that doesn't mean that the lease, that if we don't effectuate the lease, is unfulfilled. CLTC shall negotiate the terms of a non-commercial lease, and this is where I'll elaborate what a non-commercial lease is. It requires us to negotiate the terms. The key here is the act of negotiating. The law does not mandate the COT must finalize the lease regardless of the outcome of the negotiation. It says within 90 days of enactment of the law, the provision imposes a strict timeline for initiating and completing negotiation. If it fails to initiate negotiation within this period, which we have not, we've been doing it since October. So we've been fulfilling the mandate by the law itself. Now, what is a non-commercial lease, manager? A non-commercial lease refers to a legal agreement that permits the use of the property for the purpose that are not profit-driven or commercial in nature. The focus is typically on community service, public benefit, or non-profit activities. And when you look at what a non-commercial lease is, for the purpose is public benefit and non-profit activities, the rent, nominal or reduced to support community purposes, the revenue restricted to non-profit objective, permitted activities, community events, education, recreational, cultural activities, restriction of subleasing, regulation governed by public or non-profit law. That's a non-commercial lease itself. What you have in front of you that we drafted encompasses everything of a non-commercial lease agreement. That includes also for third parties, if an event that we decide to do sponsorship and they allow the sponsorship to take over, and we must not allow a third party to make money out of that. And the purpose of what you have in front of us that we originally drafted encompass all of a community benefit. In essence, you're basically leasing a certain portion, not all, for the amount they're requesting for, but strictly for the benefit of the community itself, which is what a non-commercial is. And with that said, Madam Chair, what you have in front of you is the lease that incorporated all the concerns of a non-commercial, that incorporates everything pertaining to the community benefits. You're not charging a fee for entrance fee. You're not charging a fee for sponsorship. You're not charging a fee for anything and everything, basically. You're basically allowing GMA to lease a portion for that amount. At the same time, if they want to raise, you're on bragging rights. You're not there to make. You're there to provide the benefit, like Mr. Burt was saying. He wants to benefit the community out there, and that's basically what the goal is open up the racetrack for the benefit, but you're not going to make the money out of it. That's based on a mandate by Guam's special legislative law there for the benefit, so you can make money. And that was more emphasis of Mr. Birch's comments last meeting. Correct me if I'm wrong.
To an extent, you're correct. To an extent, yeah, that'll be your interpretation of my words. I won't disagree with that.
So we did draft the lease and we did propose several requirements within the lease. I can elaborate into the lease itself and what was included, or we can go by item and discuss each of the sections. What I presented was incorporated within the draft lease. I mean, the GMA did have a chance to review it. They did make their changes, or they proposed changes. And now it's really up to them how to, if they want to explain exactly why their intents of what changes they're making versus why we felt that the lease that we put in were for a community, non-commercial. Taking consideration everything that we just discussed, bringing us exactly to where we're at, which is a lease agreement for a non-commercial lease. Before I proceed, before we even go further, what you guys have in front of you is the existing aerial view. Mr. Birch, Mr. Adet, if you may, correctly, this is exactly what we're seeing currently right now on the racetrack. Parcel 1 is the drag strip. Parcel 2 is the parking lot. Parcel 3 is the oval track area. Parcel 4 is another parking lot. I guess parcel 2 is the same.
Go-karts and autocross as well.
Okay. Parcel 5 is off-road motocross, and then parcel 6 is the convention stand.
Parcel 6 is like a miniature racetrack.
Miniature racetrack.
Yes.
Okay. So, if I may ask, when you look at this, can you basically indicate of importance, which of the parcel properties are of importance? And not everything will be important, but rank them accordingly to where you feel the importance is.
Importance-wise, I'm gonna do exactly what you asked me not to do. I'm gonna say they're all important. Depends on who you ask, right? It's open for
Well-
interpretation. So in order to rank something, it would have to pique your interest, because that's a personal ranking. It's not necessarily a judgmental thing that I wanna go and judge somebody else's activity, right? So it'll be a personal interpretation of what you think is important. If you're asking me particularly, as John Birch, they're all important, because every single person that utilizes these pieces of property are as important as the next. I'm not gonna say that the guy that drag races is more important than that child that rides his PW50 or KX50 at the track. I'm not gonna say that child's more important than that older gentleman that races his drag car. So you're asking me which is of most importance? They're all equally important, because each of these particular parcels that you have designated fits a purpose. The parking lot is just as important as the facility, because without a parking lot, how are we gonna have spectators, how are we gonna have event goers, how are we gonna have participants? It's just as important, it goes together. That's my point here, is the property goes together. So to dissect something is to like say, is your arm more important than your leg? Is your left ear more important than your right ear? That's basically what you're asking me. They're all important, right? Exactly, they're all truly important. So when you're coming to 6 parcels on this particular property, they're all important, because every portion is used by a different discipline, by a different age group.
So let me reword it.
There you go.
If an event that this lease was effectuated today,
Let's do it.
which of parcel 1 to 6 will be your first priority?
I would venture to ask, why would they have to be parceled that particular way? What professional opinion came about to this particular subdivision? What
Well-
benefits to the community are these particular subdivisions? Does the community benefit from only issuing a lease for the drag strip, but not that parking lot that's adjacent to it? If you look closely to your map, you see that strip, that parking lot's not included. That entrance, that easement, it's not included as well. So I would venture to ask, who dissected it, for what purpose? Let's get down to the bottom of it. Maybe it's a misconception or misunderstanding. Maybe we can further dissect this, or perhaps put it together.
What we're doing here is understanding the whole purpose of the racetrack, right? Because
Also-
the lease is very,
So that's another question. So if we're talking about the lease, I'm glad you read it. Earlier our conversation, you said it was a 6-sentence lease. I actually looked at it, it's a 2-sentence contract or 2-sentence law. The law in its first sentence says, the CLTC shall lease a portion or all of it. The subdivision is to be negotiated, but the law says shall be. The negotiation terms say 90 days. You said we've negotiated for 90 days. It sure does not feel like me or the community that we've negotiated for 90 days at all. It feels like we've had maybe 4, 5 meetings, and quite frankly, unproductive. We're here today and I appreciate your draft, but how many meetings have we had, Mr. Cruz, for this particular time?
About 4 or 5.
4 meetings, so we've negotiated for 4 days, if we're trying to interpret this law, right? And I love the law, Mr. Miller can attest, it's negotiable, it's interpretative. That's why there's laws written by man, because no law is simply perfect. It's written by man, can be interpreted by man. So a 90-day negotiation time frame. If you're saying, oh, today's the 10th and we're done negotiating, because we don't want to agree to something that we were just shown yesterday, how many times have you guys read our stuff? We sent it yesterday. I'm not sure if you guys read it, we're gonna find out. But my thing is 90 days, right? Because I don't wanna get so far into this and we haven't had a chance to
Mr.
actually
Burns,
talk
if I
about it.
may, you're interpreting it wrong. We're not saying.
See, and
90
that's the
days.
beauty of it. Let's hear from the lawyer.
You're not.
I'm not a lawyer, you're not a lawyer. Let's hear from the lawyer.
The
The
law-
lawyer is the lawyer. The lawyer interprets law. I have a lawyer, I hope you have a lawyer. In the event that we need an interpretation of a law, that's why we have legal counsel. Because that's the interpretation of the law. He's sent here by the Office of the Attorney General. The lawyer's name is Mr. Miller. That's why he's here. We've actually met with Mr. Miller to go over a contract that he created that was presented to you. We didn't create that initial contract. Mr. Cruz, Mr. Miller, we had a working session like we did, like it was said we were gonna do in maybe our third meeting or our second meeting. We did that. That contract that you did, that contract that you guys disregarded, and I use that term disregarded, was created by the staff from CLTC, was created by the lawyer from CLTC. The terms of profit sharing, we incorporated that. Your lawyer and the director of this agency took it out. So it's not a new idea that Mr. Ibanez, you've inputted 25% profit sharing, 10% profit sharing on different aspects of your contract that you proposed. We were more than willing to share anything if we made it. It's not a new idea. Because it came from you doesn't mean it's a new idea. We came to this table saying, let's give them money. If we make money, it's not our money to keep. Let's give it to the CLTC. Your lawyer, your director said no. It would be too complicated because of the history of this particular property. It didn't work in the past. That's why it was taken out, not by us. We proposed the 5%, the 500. We proposed the whole property. We've proposed the 150. We're proposing anything. We're here to operate in good faith. We're not here giving you a proposal saying, you know what, 90 days is up and you have to sign it or else we're not gonna be in violation of the law. No, we've never came here like that. We've never come here with that type of attitude. We've always came here with the most open and genuine efforts of negotiation to execute a lease. But if we're simply here to say no, all we have to do is negotiate with 90 days and we're not gonna do anything else, then I think we're wasting the public's time. I think we need to tell the public that if this particular board has no intention of executing a lease, that needs to be public. And just so that we're not wasting Mr. Miller, Mr. Cruz's time, we're not wasting nobody's time. If you do not wish to execute a lease, say it. Let's not go and say on video, I support the racetrack, I support the racetrack, I support. Everybody says they support the racetrack. What it comes down to is let's propose a lease that actually supports the racetrack. Let's put that in writing, the proposal that saves it. You know what I mean? So like I didn't want to interrupt you earlier. Let's go back to the question. Which is the most important part here?
So there is
like I've said, I will not say that the gentleman that drag races is more important than the child that rides his dirt bike, or the child that's learning how to ride.
All right.
You said
Mr.
your
Birch.
point already.
Thank you, I
Mr.
appreciate
Birch,
that.
So just to clarify,
Okay, let's
your
clarify.
intent is to lease 152 acres for $1,000. Okay, let's go back. You're bringing a lot of concerns up.
Oh,
Now,
plenty.
the term
Actually,
here
my
is-
concerns were very particular. It was, are we here to negotiate and just talk for 90 days, or are we here to execute a lease? Because the law actually says, the first sentence, shall lease a portion.
Okay, so we're not in disagreement with what the law says. It says
Perfect,
shall
as long
be-
as we're in agreement. That's what I want, because I left with our last meeting, because you said it 2-3 times. We're only here to negotiate, so now I'm glad we're on the same page.
We are-
We are here for the same thing, to execute a lease.
We are here to
CLTC
negotiate.
shall lease a
Okay.
portion.
Okay, we break it down. Okay,
2 sentences, let's hear it.
we break it down. Exactly what the law says.
Yeah,
It says to shall, there's the word shall,
correct,
and we also shall negotiate,
correct,
okay, in 90 days.
correct.
Okay? We have to fulfill a mandate.
Okay,
So we are negotiating this lease agreement. We have terms, you have your
Correct.
terms.
Correct.
If we do not agree to your terms, and you do not agree to our terms, we're still in the negotiating phase.
so we're not ending in 90
Okay.
days.
There's nothing in there that says to negotiate within 90 days. Now, how the laws interpret it, we'll leave it to our legal counsel,
We agree on 2 things.
okay? Now, the other thing that we have not agreed on is you want to lease this property, a portion, or all, and in this case, you want to lease 150 some property for $1,000.
Said it from the beginning, that's
Okay.
correct.
$4,000. This is a community property.
I mean, we could do it for less,
We-
if you'd like.
We went out from a source, from a sole source. We should have went from a competitive bidding.
But I think we passed that question because it's
We
law.
passed the question,
Yeah,
yeah.
so why keep bringing it up?
Now we gotta go. to
It's
the
law, right? So why do we keep bringing up the issue of sole source versus competitive? We've simply passed that. The law is the law.
Well-
The law is 2 sentences.
Madam
I
Chair-
agree with you that maybe it should have been a little bit longer, but it says shall lease.
Madam Chair,
All or a
to
portion.
make it very clear, CLT shall negotiate a lease.
That's the second
A
sentence.
portion,
Yeah, there's 2 of them.
would you like to continue?
No, I mean, you're rereading it, I've read it, you've read it, now this is gonna be the 5th or 6th time that we go on record out of the 2 meetings that
It's-
you've been
it's
a part of.
okay,
It
because
is,
we-
so when you ask me if I wanna read it, I've just read
Okay,
it, notwithstanding.
that's enough.
Okay,
Let's move forward and
I
let's
agree.
understand that
Can we-
this lease is a portion, not all.
well, it says either or,
Let's get clear interpretation,
there you go.
all right?
Madam Chair, members, the legislature in its infinite wisdom did not address the question, well, what happens on the 91st day? So I don't have an answer to the question, what happens on day 91? Everybody's entitled to their own expectation of what the legislature might want to do, if anything. Perhaps they do nothing. Perhaps they take up a brand new bill on this topic. I don't know. None of us know. For now, and the foreseeable future, we don't have an answer. There is no definitive answer what happens when we get to day 91 and no lease has been executed. Sir,
Mr. Miller, are we still in line with negotiations?
I think, so long as the dialogue continues,
Negotiations?
the negotiations remain ongoing. Each side has to decide for itself when it seems as though it's no longer productive to spend time on this topic. But as long as as long as a conversation such as this, or if the commission wanted to appoint a, subcommittee of the entire commission to try and further negotiations, I mean, there are a number of different paths. We might go down to try and get closure on this issue, but as long as dialogue continues, negotiations are ongoing.
Mr. Burns,
Yes, sir.
in your last resumption meeting, you had basically agreed to reduce the acreage from 150 to 102?
I said it was possible, yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
so that's all part of negotiation.
Understood? Understood.
Uh,
But did you guys accept the 100?
That's why we're here today.
Perfect.
Okay? That's part of the game. We have to
Mm.
talk about it, and then we come to mutual agreement, then everything is fine and dandy. But if we don't, and we come up to a brick wall, then that presents a different situation.
I think the situation that we're faced with right now is we've mentioned acreage, we've mentioned price per month, we've mentioned it, and we've yet to hear anything from the CLTC board.
Well,
So it seems like we're negotiating with ourselves. I've said 150 to 100. All I want is just a number, an attainable number that makes sense for everybody.
I was under the assumption that that's what our meeting was going to kind of like work on today, is a number.
Let's do it.
Because the acreage size, we already agreed to basically in the last meeting,
Ben's ready. What's the acreage?
that was 102 acres.
102.
That you said would be your minimum footprint.
All right, 102. Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Garrido.
Well,
I yield back.
I'm sure with that, with the total amount that they're willing to pay for 108 some acres, this $1,000 is not gonna, it's not gonna cut it. Based on the financial ability of GMA, they're coming at a very tight margins. Their financial wise creates some strict, like I mentioned, any unforeseeable expenses. We don't know the financial ability of GMA right now based on what they propose.
So are you suggesting a lower number? Is that what you're suggesting from the 1,000?
For the acreage.
No, because we've already moved from the acreage, like Mr. Garrido said. So now, line item number 5 would be the rental. So you're saying
No,
that
no.
1,000 is too much? That's my interpretation.
Before, to negotiate the terms and
Okay.
the acreage, we must have a board approval.
Oh, so
So we
then,
haven't even had an approval. One is recommending X amount. We're looking at the financial ability of you, GMA.
so are we gonna do a motion on the acreage before we move on to something else? Is that how this proceeding works?
We need to understand your financial ability, because your financial ability cannot make this payment.
Are you in agreement with the reduced acreage?
Well, let's have a motion. I'm in
No, are you
agreement
in agreement with the reduced acreage?
to 102. I'm here to say we can make it work.
Okay. Madam Chair?
I believe we have,
Motion and table to accept the 102 acres for the Guam Raceway
He
Association.
mentioned
or Guam Motion.
202, just
202? Oh, no.
No, 100.
He said 102. Yeah, he said 102.
102, I wrote it down.
But 202, hey, I'm not opposed to that.
when
100,
you were talking fast, it
yes.
sounded like 202.
No, I wrote 102, madam. I would never
I
try
wrote
to
it
lie.
too.
We agreed, yes. I would never lie about
So
this.
my motion is to lock in the acreage as part of the terms for a lease agreement to 102 acres instead of 150 or the 250.
We need a second.
and I won't second the 102, Madam Chair. Now with the ability of their financial stability, they will not be able to afford
No,
the,
but
There is
the
a-
discussion
for-
is the acreage, right?
true, there's on the acreage, and the acreage is not gonna cut it. For the amount they're requesting for, $1,000 for a rental.
We haven't got there yet.
True, but you wanna rent X amount of property.
We're on the motion, we're just looking for a
True,
second.
but
That's it.
you want, we're in discussion phase, so if you wanna rent,
That's Mr. Garrido's motion.
if you
not
wanna,
mine.
if you wanna do that, you gotta look at what they're able to afford. For 102, based on what they're thinking, we must increase their rental.
Well, let's stick on the acreage. That's line item 1. Your contract, your proposal, line item 1.
I believe we have, you want to speak?
Sure, I can say.
You got Einstein.
No, we have a motion.
We have a motion.
We have a motion on the table. Madam Chair, it's up to you to decide when the time to receive the second has expired.
We need a second.
I have a question on the acreage.
Okay, it's open for discussion.
Last meeting, we had 105. So I guess my question is that how do we compute 105 and 102? I mean.
The difference?
Yeah, because last meeting we had,
So like,
I noted 105 acres.
so we can do the 105. So like you would all know whoever.
Madam Chair, if
We're
I
we're
could.
still in the second, Madam Chair.
If I can interject here, just to sort of refine Commissioner Herrera's question, whether it's 100 or 2 or 105 or however many acres it's gonna be, if, I guess, if Commissioner Garrido could specify which 102.5 acres are the subject of the lease, so that when we, assuming we get a second and the resolution passes, it's gonna be some subset of the whole parcel, and staff needs to know kind of where to
Yeah,
draw the
that's-
line.
Yes, and
I
that's the
believe
reason why,
COTC was provided that last meeting.
that's the reason why we bring this up, so
I think
that we
that's
are
the-
aware of each parcels, because you can't just say 252, not knowing where you're parceling these
I
areas.
remember
because-
105, but go ahead.
Joe,
I apologize.
sent the email.
Yeah, we provided that.
I just sent it to the CLTC email.
Yeah, that's where we got the 105
Correct.
from that.
Correct.
Correct. But we could,
Basically about the same, generally.
Correct. It just kind of incorporates the greenery.
It's a flat.
Like the buffer zones area.
Correct, exactly.
just to make it clear before we.
We,
Agreed,
we
agreed, sir.
must, yeah, I mean, we gotta be using our CLTC's map. I mean, they're proposing what they're looking at, they're interpreting it what they wanna see. We must use CLTC's because that's the reason why we have it drafted. We have the area review, and this is exactly what we're looking at here. The more we deviate from CLTC's and relying on a third party, in this case GMA, to say this is what 102 acres is, or 105 or 250, we're relying on others. We need to look at what we have presently.
You wanna
So-
add it up,
If
8
we,
square meters?
that's why I broke it down, that's why we had it done by parcel, so we understand what you're looking at, because when we draft the lease, you're drafting it by parcel 1, parcel 2, parcel 3. You're not saying you're gonna rent everything, because in the very beginning, Mr. Birch and Hans and Mr. Adams basically said, they have no problem subdividing the property, they're not in for everything. They're in agreement that we can subdivide this property, and we can benefit for our residential beneficiaries.
See, I never actually said that, right? Because the law's extremely specific, but it has the lot number, and it says for, what is it? It says, I believe we're still on sentence 1 of the 2-sentence law. This lot shall be used for, clearly stated by the law, raceway, related supportive facilities, various outdoor events.
A portion or all.
Portion or all, that's right.
Doesn't mean that we have to do everything.
So that's what I mean,
So
when
we are-
you start saying, I said this, that's where I have a little bit of an issue, like, well, I didn't necessarily said that, you kinda did that.
We can
But
do
just
it.
like this map was created by Google Maps and just your mouse, that's all we did too.
50 acres.
Nobody actually went out there and hired a surveyor, unless you guys have the, do you guys have the invoices for
Madam
the
Chair,
surveyor?
with regard to the motion on the table,
There you go.
we need, number one, to specify where, because we're gonna, we over here on this side of the table, we're gonna, number one, have to somehow draw some lines and write it into the lease, and number two, we're gonna have to be able to enforce which side of,
Well, we're adding it right now to
and then-
determine if it's 50 or 100 acres.
Yeah. This parcel is about 49, about 50 acres, so we kinda, this was the beginning.
Correct.
When we first started.
If I may, just to explain the area, is we physically went out there and GPS to all the corners of the activities that we know of each discipline. For example, like the drag race, we went from corner to corner. It doesn't encompass the easements or the routes to get to the different.
Okay, got it. Yeah, they have a GPS with the survey, so I guess your accuracy will be plus and minus, maybe a foot or two.
Understood?
That blue outlying area was your 105 acres, is it not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, we did come to a conclusion that it could be reduced to 102.
It could, I mean, there's a couple of sections there. If the negotiation was from 105 to 102, obviously we take the 102, because we're not gonna put the community at bay for 3 acres.
Well,
We're just gonna have to work on our buffer zone. So of course, we're gonna get creative with the safety issues.
what metrics did you use to come to take the 105 acres?
What do you mean, what
GPS.
metrics?
Satellite.
No, it's literally, what do you mean by the metrics? Like
What
what device we use?
unit of measurement did you use to compute for 105 acres?
That's simply that's a Google map. And the
It's
Google
other
map,
software, it's not.
Did you go out there
GPS.
with a GPS?
no, we weren't allowed to. We've been asking to do a site inspection, I think since meeting 1, so we haven't been allowed to.
So a
But if we
significant
wanted to get
portion-
extremely detailed, allow us to be on the property together, and we'll look at these things together instead of on a map. Because you can see the terrain difference doesn't necessarily allow for certain things. So I mean, that would be great, if we could actually do that. I think Mr. Ibanez, since his first meeting, has actually said, let's do a site inspection. We're all in agreement, let's do it. So as far as accuracy, we didn't have the opportunity that Mr. Cruz has, being the director of this agency. We didn't have the opportunity to get out there with a GPS tracker. We truly didn't. This was simply done on a computer, and that's just what it is. That's in all honesty.
It's very close, but the significant portion that's missing is all this right here. That's not identified on CLTC's map. That's where all the mud bogs, the Baja Bash, a lot of events happen there. The rock crawling, that's a big portion of our activities there. That's not identified. And then you have little things like the parking lot was not included, so the racers have to pull off, they can't park on the road. We also have, here's the stands, you see that slightly indented piece right here? These are the drag strip stands. We're just trying to communicate to you guys, specifically our knowledge, we've actually experienced and competed on this racing facility, what's actually going on here. And it's encased in the one Y you see here. We're not, you have the ridge, like you have the outer ridge past like the off-road track, but we're not gonna cut off a sliver right there. It's gonna happen to the property line. We're not gonna do that.
Yeah, it doesn't do CLTC justice for us to nitpick like Hans is saying, like, oh, we're gonna leave a sliver of 10 feet. If you guys can't use it, we wanna be responsible to pay for that 10 feet. You know what I mean? We don't wanna shortchange anybody in our efforts.
What we can do internally is we can go out and GPS the corners and get a total area that will encompass even the areas that are not counted within our map here. And we can come back to the board and present what the total area, approximate total area would be for that flag type.
Do you think we'd be able to join you with that? Because there's certain tree lines that perhaps we may not even need, and we can explain better the needs.
If the board approves it, we'll be more than welcome to come.
We still have my
Thank you.
motion to deal with. We get a second
There's the
or?
difference.
So it could vary, 102 or 105.
Yeah.
Chair, it's up to you now. Like Attorney Miller said, there's no second. You have that time to move forward, and we can proceed forward and either entertaining the existing motion that Commissioner Garrido offered, or move forward to another motion.
So the motion is to verify?
No,
Oh, or to-
Commissioner Garrido made a motion for
102.
102,
Yeah.
and
and we can do it 102 plus or minus 3 acres. But
Commissioner Garrido, perhaps I could suggest you modify your motion, if I understand where you're trying to end up, that tentatively, subject to further verification, that the commission is comfortable leasing GMA the property generally outlined in blue, which we generally think is 102 to 105 acres, subject to verification.
okay, that sounds good to me.
So we'll-
Verified by the Department of Land Management or?
No,
We can do our internal, but then we can also reach out to them to request.
but I would also add that when we go out for that field inspection, that we allow a representative from the raceway to attend that site visit.
So we'll need a second to that motion.
No, that's.
motion fails.
I want to parallel this with the size and price. Size and price. Because right now we're talking about $1,000 for 100 acres.
No, we're not discussing that yet, we're just
Understand.
discussing the area.
Understand?
Well, Attorney Miller, you don't, right now the motion is he felt.
If Commissioner Herrera is not gonna offer a second, and you're not gonna offer a second,
Yeah, because,
then the
Okay.
It dies.
motion dies and discussion resumes.
Okay, so let's move on to the price.
Well, we can't, because we don't know how big an area.
Yep.
Well, you know.
Well, here's your,
It's,
Commissioner-
I agree with Mr. Garrido. How do we negotiate? How do you
Madam-
buy something or rent something if you don't know what you're buying or renting?
Madam Chair, what we have in front of us is, the law basically says for them to come to us, they want to lease the whole property or a portion of $4,000. We're trying to distinguish what parcel it makes it feasible or not, because we can, based on their financials, it's very tight. So we can lease this property for 1 year and see the improvement, the performance of GMA before we even decide to move and rent at least the whole entire portion. Right now, we have in front of us, and that's why we have this printed, so we can determine what sections. The lot number and the acreage should not have a bearing in this, because we're basing ourselves on the parcels or what you have. When you calculate the total acreage, it's gonna come into an amount when we actually do a subject to verification or inspection out there in, we all come to an agreement. At that end of the time, we say we rented parcel 1, parcel 2, 3, whatever it may be, for total acres of this, which includes all the other areas that's not encompassing it, because you gotta have the right of easements, you gotta have all these other areas to get access to this property. When you think about it, and you're saying, give me the X amount of acres, well, X amount of acres is gonna encompass something. We don't know what's gonna encompass. But by having this
So
map
we're-
in
it's like
front of us
the
right
chicken
now.
before the egg, that's what we're trying to figure
No,
out
no.
here, the chicken before the egg.
No, you're not having a chicken before the egg, you're trying to determine, you want to
Madam Chair,
lease.
she agreed with me, Mr. Ibanez, you didn't see that.
Sure agrees.
It's kind of funny, because you're asking us to put a price on something we don't know what we're gonna rent. And we're simply saying, what are we allowed to rent? I'm not here demanding, let me rent this. What am I allowed to rent?
Exactly.
What is the community allowed to rent? And that's why, this is your proposal again, you put premises on number 1, before we even get to the price. Because the premise is the most important part. How can I go and buy a can of Pepsi if I don't know if it's Pepsi, Sprite, or Coke? And how am I gonna put a price on that? Because I have my preference. I need to know what I'm gonna buy or what I'm gonna rent before we can move on to
I'm
price.
glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
because
let's knock it
That's
out.
the reason why you have CLTCs break down. Remember, we are negotiating and we're breaking it down by parcels, okay?
And your question to me initially was the importance of these parcels. And Hans had went up there and pointed out that these parcels don't particularly identify how this property is used. So I would venture to say, whoever designed this subdivision probably didn't have the input of a person that actually utilizes this. That's why I'm happily surprised with Mr. Cruz's and Mr. Garrido and Mrs. Berdalio's agreement to allow us to do this together.
So-
That's what I think is the most important thing, is for us to do this together so that it benefits you and us. Not so that it benefits Mr. Ibanez or Mr. John Birch. I want to make sure it benefits CLTC as a board and as a community, not necessarily just GMA. I'm not here just trying to negotiate for GMA. I'm a CHamoru. I believe land is for the CHamoros. So we're not in disagreement there, and I've said this before you were part of this board. I'm happy that Mr. Cruz said, yes, let's do this together. Mr. Garrido said, yes, let's do this together. And this is the typical situation of chicken before the egg. How do you expect to negotiate a price when you haven't given us an actual parcel to negotiate with? Unless you're stuck to the 6 parcels that was created before your conception or confirmation to this particular board. And this is where I think our discussions have to come from.
Okay.
Let's do the premises first.
So,
Let's do it first. Darwin didn't figure it out, we're not gonna figure it out either. Let's figure
understanding
this out.
where Mr. Birch coming from, he brings an important part that basically says he doesn't know how this came about, okay? Well, Guam Motorsports.
Well, no,
is
I do,
coming-
because Mr. Cruz said he did, but I said it didn't have the input of somebody that actually utilizes this property as a community member.
So-
It had the input of the CLTC staff, and I'm not sure, maybe the board,
Okay, Mr.
maybe,
Birch.
but I'm not sure.
Mr.
No, I just wanna clarify, because you're
Let's-
saying I said a particular thing, and I wanna clarify
Let's-
what I
let's-
truly
let's
said.
make this clear.
So what I said was, the parcels weren't divided the way the community uses it.
Okay,
That's
so-
why they're,
Understood.
that's why we can't go with
Understood.
this. If
Understood.
you understand, then we shouldn't be talking about
No.
6 parcels.
You
That's
want,
the thing.
hold on, okay,
Yeah.
let's make this very
So
clear.
maybe we don't
No,
understand
hold on.
each other.
I want this very clear, because you, Guam
Yeah.
Motorsports,
Yeah.
have an idea of where you guys want to lease this property.
Correct.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
If in the event that you don't think that any of this is gonna work,
Any
No,
of
hold
which,
on,
any of
hold
the
on.
property.
you're looking at parcel 1, parcel 2, parcel 3, you're saying none of this, you don't know how it was.
I didn't say that. I didn't say
created.
it's not gonna work. I never said that.
Okay, so you want, basically make this whole flat, none of this is in existence.
And that's why land is very particular, because land is not flat. God did not create this land in a flat motion. The earth is round, Guam is created by limestone and
Okay.
volcanic rise.
Okay.
So it's not flat. So we're gonna pretend that it's flat like a
I'm glad you're
paper.
negotiating because in essence,
Thank you, Mr. Garrido.
we can
No, but let
basically
me
say
do
what
this.
parcels of this racetrack
Let me do
we
this.
can make.
So just like yours, we can actually switch snaps, just so if that gives you a better view than the TV that's up there, that is what makes sense to the community. It's basically
Madam
just
Chair, I'd like
that.
to place a new motion on the table.
First, what did you guys do? And what did you determine?
And the whole discussion came about prior even to this bill or to the law enacting. We wanted to get an idea of what the actual usage was based on each different discipline. There is a labeling issue here about partial 6 concessions. But beyond that, we went out and we GPS corner to corner, which how the board came up initially with 50 to 60 acres of usage. So that's where, how this aerial and plotting came about. But we did not incorporate the access, the parking, and anything in between. It was just the areas that were known to us of what was being utilized.
So it's not the whole blue line?
No, but, based on what we've computed, the 50, about 50 to 60, and given the in-betweens, it may be roughly about 105 to 102. There's no doubt about that. Because when you look at the drag strip, it doesn't go past, it's almost parallel to that line. So it just goes down, goes straight across. So it may potentially be 102 or 105, give or take. But we can go back out there and with the board's approval, have someone, a representative from GMA accompany us and do the corners and then come back, plot it, and figure out what the approximate area size is. But if you want a definite number, the only way is to have a physical survey done, unless someone has a drone with some software, which we don't have.
I don't have that either. I don't even know.
Madam Chair, may I piggyback on Joey? I know Mr. Chrysostom was here, so 2 years ago, when we did the eviction process, Mr. Chrysostom and the group were coming in. So we wanted to accommodate and maybe not at 252 acres, but we were saying, let's get the drift track and motocross going, and we can partial it out. And then the public law that we're working with now, we started in September, October. So you guys came after the fact that we did this preliminary, because we wanted to make it affordable at the time, because the fair market value for this property was 8.9 million, and the rental at that time was about 4,000 a month, and even we were having a problem with collecting the rental. So instead of using the 252 at 4,000, we're saying we'll drop it down. And this was from Commissioner Garrido's recommendation to partial it so it can be affordable and get the drift track and motocross going. So then September came and the bill was introduced by the legislature, then it became law. And then now we started negotiating or discussing the partials again. So this was like a 2-year projection to make it affordable. And again, a commercial value, a commercial lease is 10%, not less than 10% of the appraised value of the property. So the Revenue Tax gave us their assessment on this one, and it's $8.9 billion.
On the 59 acres?
On the 252.
Oh, okay.
For that partial Revenue Tax.
This is a basic law.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification.
So that's how we kind of made a decision to partial it out to make it affordable and not violate the commercial requirement of 10%, not less than 10, because we can lease it out at fair market value for 8.9.
Prior to the law.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, and
Prior
that's
to
about
that.
maybe 4,000 an acre, was that our computation?
Probably,
So 4,000 at 250, it's about maybe 1.2 mil per
Yeah.
month.
Totally understand, but that conversation was prior to the law.
Correct, so
Yeah.
when you guys came in, we were working with non-commercial use. So
Correct.
what's a non-commercial? Commissioner Ibanez kind of really dissected the language of a non-commercial.
Yes, he did.
So last meeting, I recommended that if 1,000 is, it's a fraction of the cost of the property. And don't forget, we're responsible for about maybe 10,000 applicants. That's our customer base.
Maybe even more, huh? These days
Maybe
it's always
more.
growing. Yeah.
Right, and like, the former chairperson, CHamoru, came in and said the reason why they shut down their Cross Island operation because their family was growing. Well, the CHamoru Land Trust family is growing. So if we wanna compare this now with the priorities, right? What is the priority of the CHamoru Land Trust? The residential and agriculture, or, the racing operation? Of course, the mandate is agriculture and residential.
Mhm.
But again, with the legislature, right, having the majority of 8, they can make a law right now. And the 8 can dissolve the CHamoru Land Trust as a whole, if they
Hopefully.
so decide.
Hopefully
They can
not, because what you guys do is great.
Understand, and don't forget, this thing was happening because of again, we can go back to history and we're, say how did the CHamoru Land Trust came about. But right now, from the last meeting that we had,
Mhm.
I'm game. 105 acres at 9% of fair market value, and that's about 30,000 a month,
Yeah, you said that last meeting,
right? And
The
that
meeting before that, you said 3,000. So
no,
I'm not too sure
It's
which,
35,000.
which 3,500, I think Joey was doing some
30.
calculations.
33.
33,000, right? And that's-
33,000?
yeah. So when you see
Yeah.
a person dealing with you and they turn the calculator like this,
The number just got longer?
correct,
I've
yeah.
seen that, yeah,
So
thank you for
what
that.
I'm saying, right, to make this a win for the CHamoru Land Trust applicants,
How about the win for the community?
so that's part of it, because this is a win-win, and this is where I'm
I
saying.
like that, win-win, I like
Like we
that.
go back, right, to the legislature, and because the legislature shoved this down to us to say, do this law, do it now, can take this hammer and bang this table, put a hole on this table.
Maybe they didn't shove it down your throat, I think that's open to interpretation as well.
Yeah,
It was just kind of a law mandated, laws are created every year, every day of the year, depending on what country and what place we are.
And a law can be made to,
It can be dissolved.
to dissolve this law right now,
Correct,
right?
that's absolutely
But we're
correct.
in that good
Yeah,
faith.
correct.
So what I'm saying here, just to finish my process here, that it's a win for the racing community, it's a win for CHamoru Land Trust.
Mhm.
If we make the Guam legislature subsidize the 33,000 per month. Now, will the 8 vote for that? Maybe yes, maybe no. Will the governor sign that? Maybe yes, maybe no. But if it goes right,
Mhm.
and we have $33,000, and we want it to be paid in advance, at least 12 months in advance, and you guys can focus and concentrate on operating this safely and the way you guys propose. So that takes the burden off of looking for funds to pay for the CHamoru Land Trust. That takes the pressure off from getting subsidy from your sponsors. Because really, 4,000 a month or 5,000 a month with the sponsorship, if it's integrated, you can pay 5,000 a month. But again, I'm saying, we make the legislature make the decision, subsidize at 9% below the 10% fair market value, and we're within the parameter of non-commercial. And you can start racing next week.
So
That's what I proposed last time, and we continued that today.
okay, so you said you were game for the 102 and 105. I mean,
We're within that parameter, right, because we want to be accurate.
so did I wanna rewrite that? Could I scratch it out? Are we good for
Which
the
one, the
102?
102?
102 or 105?
Yeah, it's a plus or minus, right, but it's not 100 variable. It's not 100-acre variable, right? It's an acre, or could be a couple of square meters here.
Yes, sir.
Or a couple of centimeters here.
Yes,
We
sir.
can go to millimeters.
No need.
But we're saying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no need.
102, 105,
105.
within an acre or
Okay.
two.
So we're still
Right,
good on,
see,
so
that's
we're in
the-
agreement, we're okay with the 102 to
Well, that's what
105.
we're trying to verify, so,
No, I think you already had a motion, that motion fell.
Right, yeah,
So
that
that is
failed.
no
Okay,
more
so-
right, no
up in
more,
the thing,
yeah.
so the initial acreage that came out that was proposed is no longer.
correct, yeah, that's now.
We can't
So-
discuss that anymore.
So Mr. Ibanez convinced you not to use 102 like you just said to
No,
all
I
of
didn't
us?
convince
No, I'm a technician, let me tell you.
We're all here sitting in the same room, right?
I am a
Look at anybody.
technician,
And that's what I love about this, it's all
I'm a
recorded,
technician,
right?
I can measure a distance,
Yeah.
you know, with the laser.
With a laser?
Yeah,
I
you know
don't
what I
quite-
mean,
I
but
don't quite
we're
follow.
talking about, Mr. Ibanez did not tell me to follow or not follow.
No, I just thought he convinced you, because just 5 seconds, you said,
No.
yeah, I'm good for, you said, I'm game.
Yeah.
Two
I got-
thumbs up
The
for
motion- The
102.
motion
I
was
got my
there
own
already.
thought here, because
So we got-
my.
I like that.
Yeah. My target is to help the beneficiaries of the CHamoru land trust.
I like
That's
that.
one.
I like that, I agree with you.
Residential and agriculture, that's
Should-
my target.
Yes.
Is the banging necessary?
Oh,
Should we-
no,
Should
I'm
we
sorry.
recess? I mean, are you getting angry, Mr.
Oh,
Herrera?
no, but see,
Okay.
so when we work with that, right, and we get the legislature to assist, then we can benefit the constituents of the CHamoru land trust and all the racers, drift track and motocross, and the Mont Blanc.
I understand. So you're saying GMA should not be charged an amount? Is that the end of all of that?
Those are
GMA should not be
variables,
charged?
right? Those are
And
variables.
we should push that to the government to pay?
I'm saying that
That's what he
9%,
said.
That's what he's saying?
yeah, 9%
So-
is less than the fair market value that's in the books now, not less than 10,
Okay.
correct? Not less than 10. So at 9%, it's a bargain, because if we follow the 10%,
Open to interpretation as well.
or the fair market value, right?
Yeah,
Then that's a different story.
No, but you're so, just for clarification, Mr. Herrera, just so that we have some progress, you're saying GMA shouldn't have to pay.
No,
Me and Mrs. Bergalio agreed, like, I think that's what you just said. We shouldn't have to pay, we should have the government
The government
subsidize the
And
amount.
that concerns Mr. Ibanez'
Mhm.
analysis about, you know, the amount of money you be receiving as a non, what do you call it, commercial,
Mhm.
Yeah, because we should be negotiating in a commercial, but this is non-commercial, and
Yeah.
in good faith to support,
Mhm.
especially both of you that have been coming here. That's the good faith that I had in tone to do 9% of the less than the 10% fair market value.
What's that discount? What's
In-
1%?
in
Well,
dollars.
what is 0.01% of that discount of your good faith negotiation tactic?
No, because.
Could we have Mr. Cruz?
No, the
calculate that
right
as well?
is saying that the commercial,
Because you're saying you're giving us 9.99, right? That's what
9%.
9%? So
By
what is that
law, right?
1% discount we're getting for operating this at free cost to our community? What is it that we charge, or not we, but what is it that COTC charges to the House Angels? Because that's for community benefit as well.
I don't know about housing.
We kind of did some research, I don't think you guys charge football or anything.
Or rugby.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
No, that's
It's different, right?
PE
Yeah.
education, right? And
Yeah, it's different
Well,
because
it's
the law says to negotiate a lease.
So let's
go back to the law.
go back,
Before
we can talk or go to
continue,
the law, two-sentence law. I mean,
The two-sentence law has a big factor in it because this is not a sole source. We have to make that understandable.
let's time out for a few minutes.
Okay.
10 minutes, right?
10 minutes.
You guys want some water? Mr. Guys? Hey, we're here to negotiate. What we say on the outside is very different than what happens in there. That's confusing to me. Very confusing to me.
Yeah, we need to introduce
continue. Go ahead.
Okay, you take the gavel. Now back to session.
Back in session.
Like, oh,
Is the legislature in session?
They're gonna put a rubber, I think so. I think they went back this morning.
You have to put felt in the bottom.
It's better like this than, we're just going to be flying like a laser. Beer feast, o'clock. Okay.
So Madam Chair, if the board would like us to go out and conduct the GPS and do our assessment for the area that was highlighted in blue and the map that was shared with us, we can. We just need the direction from the board and how you want us to proceed.
Well, I was thinking that area where the whole thing, the blue or green lines,
Yeah.
yeah,
We can go out and,
yeah.
With
And with
a
a
representative.
a representative, could be one or two to go.
okay. We'll schedule something for, if not this week, next week, we'll send an email of a date and time. If anybody from the board would like to accompany us, we'll also, but we just have to go back into the open government law to ensure that we properly notify.
One of you gets to come to the,
Okay, there.
to the outing.
Right there.
Right there.
Okay, so we'll notify Commissioner Eubanks.
You haven't been up,
You pretty much know. You don't.
We got a
I know.
radar zone, so, but it's okay. Make them do it.
So we'll schedule that and we'll send out proper notification. All right, Mr. Birch, if you can share with us your email, I
Sure.
can have it, so. And we'll notify Mr. Ada and yourself.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Is there anything else?
Madam Chair, if I can make one suggestion at this point, setting aside how much land and how much money, it seems as though there's some very different perspectives on prizes. And, you know, does the commission want, does the commission want some type of limits on what Guam Motorsports and its affiliates can award as prizes, or does the commission not care? If perhaps we can take that topic up for a few moments, maybe that's something we can get to some clarity on, because I know, you know, in the draft, staff put together reflective of last week's questions. There's language in there which specifically says, you know, no cash prizes, and I know in the draft that came back from Guam Motorsports that all that was Xed right out. So if we can perhaps address that topic for a few moments, maybe we can reach some consensus there.
That's the rules, the exhibit number 2, rules and regulations.
Yes.
Number 2,
That's item 1, so 1 and 2.
item 2.
One and 2.
That's on page,
Exhibit number 2, so that's 15.
Page 15. We didn't for that.
I mean, working from the notes you all adopted last week, it seemed pretty clear that the commission had come down on the position of, we're not racing for money, and we're not, collecting fees to race, and perhaps the folks from GMA have a perspective on what impact that rule would have on their ongoing viability.
But I have a question. Nonprofit organizations usually make money by using the public to donate and things like that. What's the difference between a nonprofit and a non-commercial?
Legally, you asked a lawyer question, so you're gonna get a lawyer answer. Legally, there's no such thing as non-commercial. That has no official meaning.
Yeah.
Nonprofit is, under federal US law, there are, I don't know, somewhere between 25 and 30 different types of nonprofit organizations. Homeowners associations, unions, there's a wide variety of groups, we'll call them, that the US government in its infinite wisdom said, if you meet all these characteristics, you don't have to pay taxes. Now, what many people confuse is charity and nonprofit. Charities are a subset of nonprofits. To be technical, a charity is a organization that meets the requirements of section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. And like I said, there are about, it goes from 501A to I think like 501W. And 501C just happens to be the one which says if you give away most of your money, then the people who give you money get to write it off on their taxes. But there are plenty of nonprofits out there, groups like the Red Cross, many non-governmentally owned hospitals are nonprofits that take in and pay out enormous amounts of money, but because they meet the requirements that the federal government has set up, they don't pay income taxes. These folks would be, as I understand it, these folks intend to be one of those very many 501c organizations, which means whatever money they take in and pay out, they won't be earning a profit, and as a result, they won't be paying taxes. Although, actually, even that's an incomplete answer, because every 501c organization actually has to file a tax return. You just don't attach a check.
And then you have membership that pay their dues.
The membership organizations are 501c6 organizations, I believe.
So you have your articles of articles of
Incorporation.
incorporation.
Yes.
So
Corporation.
you
Or
file,
501c.
You should let them look, let him look.
501c.
which C?
Check.
You're probably a 4 or a 6.
It's not a 3.
You're not a 3. I know you're not a 3. So you're probably a 4 or a 6.
What's your business license say?
There is no business license.
But when you guys file your corporate resolutions, they will tell you exactly what you guys filed under.
She's looking at it.
There's certain requirements that were set that these, you have to provide all these.
I mean, Guam law regarding business licenses is a completely different topic than whether you qualify as a nonprofit and have to pay taxes or not.
I'll pull it up in a second. But
It's on one of those WhatsApp chat, it's long. You know, the chat goes back and forth forever.
Well,
Yeah.
you know
He'll
what?
look it up and we'll submit it.
Mr. Ada, you should give your papers to him so he can
I will,
help you.
along with the artist corporation.
Yeah. Is that okay with you?
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll see what they can accept.
Yeah, I've done
Of course.
Yeah.
lots of nonprofits in my life.
Yeah, they make money too, so.
Rolex, nonprofit. Yeah, really, that's why we gotta make sure we do this one right.
Yeah. So that would concern Mr. Direct.
That's why he was saying they pull in a lot of money, but they also push out a lot of money.
With all the scrutiny of, I mean, you can have everything that we have in place, but we have to have accountability.
Yeah,
We have to have audited reports, we have to have audited financial statements, because you
Yeah.
gotta make sure that the whole intent of this mandate is for community, not for the benefit of the public itself. When you read the business plan, it talks about the benefit of the public itself. I think on one stage, you said you guys wanna bring in the public and help the public itself, you're not there to make money.
Correct.
Correct.
So the goal there is, if we look at exactly how the business plan is structured, we want to make sure that we structure it in such a way, because when you open up the racetrack, you can charge membership fee, you can charge the pit crew fee, you can charge the car a fee, and every member within that car that enters is charged a fee. If you bring in sponsorship, whether it be through a third party, they'll charge a fee. Concession stand, you can bring in that, and proceeds of that will go through, again, through the fee itself. The way we structured, the way the lease is incorporates all of the structures there to ensure that it is for the benefit of the public itself. You take into consideration how and what the intent of the law itself is. We then look at the benefit of the public, and we open up the racetrack. GMA will provide the maintenance, the support they need to run the racetrack. They provide everything that's needed to do it, but at the bottom line is that we have to make sure that there's accountability if in the event they decide to make money. Because if they're gonna make money, then can you afford to make $1,000? Because then your rent can go up more, so just give and take.
I agree. I totally agree. If we're making money, I believe COTC should have its fair share. I've always agreed with that.
We all agree.
Yeah, that's 100%.
And that's why the lease is drafted the way it is to ensure that you're not there to make money, you're there for the benefit of the public itself.
I think within question, one of Mr. Miller brought up on Exhibit 2, Rules and Regulations, item number 2, was the allotment. I mean, is that necessary? Yeah. That would be the page number 15 is what we were at.
Yeah.
What was your concern, Mr. Miller?
All monitoring.
Trophy
Well, the commission the commission's notes from last week were, we're not gonna charge anybody for accessing the property, and then your comment back was to just strike that out in its entirety. So somewhere we have to figure out who, if anybody, can be charged for accessing the property, racing on the property, and what kind of prizes
Well,
can you race
So
for?
so the reason why I believe that we struck certain line items out, particularly line item number 2, is because we wanted to open up GMA as a community group. Right now, we're here to facilitate and make sure it happens right, and we want to open it as a community group. And without regulating who racers, participants, attendees, and spectators are, we would need a better option of how to regulate safety. So if we were to have some kind of agreement where we could charge a participant a nominal fee, not $100, not $300, something nominal, something that would help us pay the rent, pay the insurance, because those are the bills that need to get paid. So it's not that I've never said we're gonna make it free, we're gonna almost make it free, just enough to pay the bills. That's really the goal. Was my comments at our previous meeting was to allow the community to burden the weight of this facility. And then that would tell us if Guam itself wants this facility. Give us that year trial period with the automatic renewal of 4 years if Guam wants this facility. Because the need has to come from the community. We wouldn't be here if the need wasn't from the community. And this really puts a chokehold on GMA's capability to operate the facility. So we would like a lease that allows us to lease the property and operate it in a fashion that is sustainable. So if we're not given an opportunity for revenue to be generated to pay for the lease, then I think it's a setup for failure. So we need to allow GMA and Guam the opportunity for it to pay itself. Our idea was to charge for a minimal fee for participation, and that would be calculated based on our rent. You know what I mean? That's really why the number was low initially, was to make sure that the community can afford to come and enjoy. Nobody has to waste their whole paycheck. Somebody can actually come and enjoy. I liked Mr. Ibanez's idea of perhaps not charging veterans and children. That's a great suggestion. But I think there does have to be some kind of agreement where we're allowed to charge participants a nominal fee for certain events. Not every event, because on a page prior to this, there's a line item number 7, community use, 25 days. Why limit it to 25? Let's do 50 community days per year. Let's do 100. Let's make this for the community. I'd say let's raise that number. We can negotiate it that way. We can charge a nominal fee for certain race events, but on the community days, let's raise that from 25. We're all here to put our sweat and our strength into this. Let's raise the day for community use. That would be on page number 3, line item number 7. Let's not limit ourselves to 25 community days. We'll do more. We want to do more, and that's why we're here, is to do more for the community, the motorsports community, and probably even the residents of Jigo. You never know. A lot of them like to come out. A lot of them buy property up there just to enjoy the facility. But yes, let's not limit us to the 25. Let's push that number higher. Hold us to a higher standard of community service in line item number 7 of this proposal. I would like to be held higher to a higher number account for community service, because that's why we're here. We're here from day 1 for that, and we're here on December 10th for that. Same thing. Is for the community service. So hold us to a higher number. Don't stop us at 25.
I think the item 7 basically says community events, meaning where you bring in STEM individuals, the students, you bring in different organizations, and you do your training as a community event. Not community meaning the whole entire community.
What do you mean by STEM?
STEM, in your proposal, you put STEM.
Okay.
So we're proposing that you do community events.
Yeah.
And community events are not public-wise, right? Therefore,
Not public what?
well, interpretation of how you interpret it was community events. So if I want to open up a racing, all the communities that come in the race, no. So you want to put a higher standard of 50. We're talking about community events, meaning educational purposes. You got STEM training, workshops. If you do for veterans, you do workshops for the veterans, so you're teaching them exactly what GMA is all about. What it is. So you're promoting
There you go.
a community event,
Yes, sir.
okay? Versus actually opening it for the community itself and say, okay, we're doing 100 community events. 2 totally different types of community events you're looking at.
So then
And I made it clear in there because you're looking again on community benefit obligations, and you're saying, well, let's just take a farm table. We're gonna do farming. We're gonna show you
Oh,
how to till the soil, how to fertilize the soil.
No,
And you're doing a lot of these workshops out there. That's how this community benefit program is.
I get it. In your proposal, you say community events include but are not limited to youth and beginner-focused motorsports activities and vehicle racing introductory events. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Your
Yeah.
sentence, 100%, let's do it.
Right, so
Yeah.
you can do 50, you can do whatever you want. We're just proposing 45. If you wanna do
Yeah.
more than that, that's up to you,
Perfect.
okay? But we're saying that type of community events is strictly for those types of,
Oh, yeah.
but you're gonna have to show, you're gonna have to come up with a plan, documenting all that purpose of what entails, what you're gonna do.
Oh, I
Because
hope you guys
you're-
come out and join.
Oh, no, again, the whole intent of this lease agreement, negotiating the lease is that it's for community benefit. So if you're gonna do community, you wanna make sure you're focusing also on the community itself, local moderate income, the STEM, the students. you know.
Students,
of
And
course, yeah.
You're focusing, even charter schools, you got all those. Now, in terms of fees, Madam Chair, that's where we got into trouble. If you wanna do community events, don't charge a fee. We bring up, or Mr. Birch brings up that, you gotta have control. Within GMA, you can create committees that says, okay, you're gonna handle this committee, you're gonna create this committee, whether it be a racing event, or whatever type of event. Now, you're gonna ensure that the structure of that committee encompasses, are we following safety protocols? Do we have the insurance necessary? All of that is incumbent on GMA to ensure. At the end of the day, they're gonna report to us on a quality basis, and this is what we did. This is how much interest fee, how much cars came in, this is who we have that was organizing this. We have one from our committee that followed through, there's a subcommittee there that created all that. That's where the adherence to the lease agreement is, because the onus is gonna be on them to provide all that information to us. If we open it up to say, charge this, charge that, you're not gonna have accountability. I mean, when you start talking about sponsorship, you can have a third party that says, we'll come in, we'll take care of that. And they basically are behind the scenes saying, okay, here's a sponsorship, and they're gonna charge X amount of dollars to bring these people in. They get their commission, you get your commission at the same time, and we're gonna have the race. Again, we don't know, we wanna make sure that we cover all areas of charging a fee, whether it be third parties, whether it be any type of fee coming in, pit crew, participant. It's for the community, open it up, let them manage it, let them bring in the people, let them organize it. They're the experts, they will control everything, but report to us on a quarterly basis for the community, for the benefit of the community.
I agree.
Open it. It's free,
I
open
agree.
it up, you guys manage it.
I agree to a certain extent of the whole.
You pay the rent, manage it.
That, I love that. That's what I would like. If we pay the rent, allow us to manage it. And the concern with the sponsorships, being that it is a nonprofit and whoever gives us a donation or sponsorship fee, it has to be recorded. I love the idea of the quarterly reports or monthly, whatever you guys request, because you'll see exactly the type of sponsorships that come into this type of organization or this type of sport. It's not as much money as a lot of people think. A lot of these guys, it's just, I'm gonna help. A lot of it is, I'm gonna help. They're gonna say, I'm gonna help you I'll provide you $10,000, $5,000, $2,000. Doesn't necessarily mean that Mrs. Bergali or Mr. Ibanez is gonna give me $1,000. It basically means like, I'm gonna print your signs for parking.
In kind.
In kind,
You're talking about
yes.
in-kind. So that's
Yeah.
one thing. I mean, in-kind is a different of actually saying, I'm gonna donate, I'm gonna give you
Cash.
1,000 cash.
Yeah,
That's all accountability. They're gonna have to structure, get an audited financial statement.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna have a treasurer, they're gonna have, somebody who's gonna
We have all of
take
that.
accountability.
no need to be creative, we definitely.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but we wanna make sure that you're aware that if an event that you failed to provide it, these can just be terminated right there and then because your failure to ensure the compliance of these
I agree.
criteria within the lease agreement is a violation of these terms, so.
No, I agree. I think you guys should be extremely aware of how we operate, what we operate, not only in this lease, but perhaps maybe all the leases that you guys do, you guys should put all that effort into every single lease. I agree with you. Totally agree. Because we
All
wanna,
efforts
because
are
we,
going
because
to
we
lease.
wanna do it right. We truly do wanna do it right. But I wouldn't say we got into trouble about the charging. I just figured it's just another point of negotiation.
Secret apps, they don't want you to know.
But
So-
what app is that? That's the negotiation app?
It complicates things with in-kind sponsorships.
Well, it depends, right? That's
You
open
can-
to interpretation, so I don't want to ever think nothing
As long
is,
as you
as long as
document.
correct.
Okay, you can have in-kind, you can have cash contribution, you can have sponsorship contribution.
Correct.
When you bring it in, whoever's taking, you have to have a point of contact.
Oh, yeah.
All funds coming in for this race goes to the treasurer or whoever you appoint.
Correct.
And then you sit down and say, it's in-kind, take a tally. That's separate recording. Your sponsorship and the recording. When you do your financials, you're putting all that in there to show total in-kind X amount, sponsorship X amount. At the end of the day, you have documented your accounting and say, okay, how are we gonna ensure that we documented that in-kind came in? Well, show a thank you letter, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're gonna go on there and say, thank you for this in-kind donations which attributed to this. You know, a lot of it's all about documentation
Yeah.
and creating, because when it's time for audit, they'll show.
No
You had this-
complication in the reporting, I assure you.
You had this function and all of a sudden it
No
wasn't
complications.
documented, so.
I think the complication Mr. Ada would be referring to is large sponsorships. With this type of contractual agreement and lease agreements, we are not expecting large sponsorships. I don't wanna false promise or give anybody promises. We will not be receiving large sponsorships because of the terms and the constraints. But we understand, we're still willing to do it. We're still willing to do it, even without, I mean, would it be great to get large sponsors? Of course, who doesn't?
You may get it.
We may, I don't ever wanna shoot it down, but I'm just
You may
saying,
get it, it's just how you document it, because.
documentation never an issue, it's the opportunity that sponsors are
No, that's-
for repayment.
That's true, they say.
That's the constraint.
Yeah.
But, either way, I think Mr. Garrido was saying, event sponsorships last meeting, and that's something of course that we're open to. And like I said, just to round about that we're back on section 5,
Here's the
more than
thing.
willing to do the sharing.
Here's the thing, what we proposed and what was agreed upon, that was approved through the committee, through the board, was what was incorporated into here. So event sponsorship, we moved into these proposals that went in there, so if you don't see an event sponsorship within the proposal, then it wasn't approved. Meaning, the last meeting, we had several proposals that was approved by the board to present to you guys, and that was incorporated in here. So, going back to saying, oh, Commissioner Grillo said this, Commissioner Grillo said that, you gotta look at what transpired.
I'm not tracking what
After.
you're saying.
So there's no event sponsorship here?
No, I'm saying we're more than willing to share, like, that'll be the type of sponsorship, and we're more than willing to do the sharing.
Yeah, but what
That's,
you're,
I'm agreeing with you,
what
I'm not sure what you're.
what you're looking at is what was being proposed. So there's no event sponsorship in your proposal, and you crossed it out, then we start talking about like number 2, entrance fees, vehicles. And you got event sponsorship also within a certain section in there.
Well, I think we're reading the different sections.
But
Page 15.
Yeah.
Item
No,
2
but
is-
sponsorship was on, page number 3, item number 5.
Yeah. But we have it.
Yeah, sponsorship wasn't on exhibit 2.
Yeah, so we moved over, we got first, because that's what Attorney Miller wanted us to look at is number 2, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, is-
So I think that's, so if we're just focusing on number 2, that's where I'd ask for some negotiation, is the ability to put a fee, a nominal fee, to ensure there's a contractual agreement between the racer and GMA.
Well,
And then at the same time, we gotta make sure that there's a contractual agreement for any pit crew members to enter the pit crew area. You know, because there's certain safety things.
Madam Chair, that's where you have your agreements. That's where the GMA comes into play. They're gonna have to have a liability agreement, they're gonna have to have all these agreements that will make all these individuals sign, because that's an accountability on itself. So,
And that's why,
for me, I keep item number 2 in, do not waive it. by doing so, you have opened up more revenue generated. That means your rent can go up higher. And if they want to propose to increase it, then we gotta look at the overall picture of the rent itself. But you have the ability to monitor, to control. GMA is an expert in what they're doing, although, you know, most of these individuals are experienced at what they do. They know the process. They should be able to compare these agreements and make the pit crew, make the racers sign all these agreements, because to move forward without signing, there's a liability.
And
But
that's-
that's the logic of why I say that you keep the fee, no fee involved. The accountability is gonna be, remember, we're looking at 1 year, okay?
That's, my thing is with this, with number 2 excluded, it allows us to generate the financial means to obtain this property yearly. This is solely how we're gonna be able to pay you guys. Line item number 2 incorporates totally different things. So without entrance fees, without crew fees, without general admission, that puts a chokehold in the ability of this organization to obtain this property. I mean, if you're simply saying, I'm not sure, like what, that's my interpretation, is that how,
This is for the community benefit, this is for the public.
Correct.
So-
Oh, 100% agree.
Let's focus on the public, and if they want to bring the racetrack back, don't charge any fee. Bring the racetrack back, let GMA manage
I like that.
the racetrack.
No, I
If
actually,
you're-
I like that. No, I agree, let's stop, I agree. Let's do it for the community, let's put the 0, because it's 0.
No, you're still gonna pay rent. You still gotta pay rent. But I'm saying that the whole focus is, bring the racetrack back.
Correct.
Bring the racetrack
Bring
back.
it.
Well, we can bring the racetrack back, Madam Chair. GMA is the experts.
Okay.
They can manage the property, they can create the agreements, the consent forms, the waivers, everything that's needed to bring a racetrack back
Yes,
to the racetrack.
yes.
But do not charge any type of fee, for an entrance fee,
Okay.
for vehicles, for pit crew, for participating fee, walk-in, general admission, third-party sponsorship. You're basically just saying, if you want to race, go see GMA.
Yeah,
They'll create a subcommittee, they'll create a committee. Committee A gonna go over there because you are a dragster. Go see so-and-so, wherever your point of contact is.
yeah.
Fill these forms out. You know, they shouldn't be side betting in anything, but, you
Yeah.
know, that's a different story in itself.
Exactly.
But you
But it
want,
just
you want
begs
to keep, you want
begs
the
the
community?
question.
Here it is, open it to the public, free. But GMA still gotta pay the monthly rent.
Right.
That's,
And if we
that's,
increase an escalation fee, we're gonna increase an escalation fee.
so that's extremely interesting. Like I've just stated, this is the one point of how the community is gonna bear the weight of owning this facility, is through a minimal fee. So we could do this without charging people. We simply could. Then that would in turn, we would ask for you not to charge us as well. I mean, it's simple mathematics. You know what I mean? If the rent is 0, we can do this for 0. Simple.
Not unless you just put a box out there and says donation.
I know we can do that, and then as long as that's okay with you guys, and we simply submit the box to you guys, that's fine too. I mean, I'm okay with that.
You're gonna have to have tax liability and ensuring that what you're donating is, I mean, these guys are gonna have
But
to,
it's
it's under them,
doable.
so if they charge X amount of dollars and something comes in, they have to have accountability of who's gonna get their 1099s.
No, but if it truly is to be free for the community, then I would ask in return that it be free for us to operate as well and manage, because we're doing this for the community. I mean, it's simple math. Money comes in, money goes to you. That's really it.
We're a nonprofit, but we still have to
That
generate
stipulation
revenues.
restricts your ability to encumber funds to pay a rent.
And insurance and maintenance.
Those are the costs that we
Correct.
fix, we
Yeah.
can't control.
And that's
Yeah.
what I had spoken to you guys about in prior meetings.
Is-
And, I'm not in total agreement with that, because if we agree to that, that's basically setting you up for failure.
I agree with you, sir. So our idea was to open up GMA to a membership fee. So the members of GMA would receive a discounted rate for utilizing the property. The non-members would pay, of course, a higher rate for not being a member. And then in turn, that money would pay for the insurance. First it would pay for the rent, then insurance, and then maintenance. So it's just kind of the big circle of how the financial is gonna be going about, is if when they pay us, we pay you. That's pretty much it. But if there's a chokehold point of non-payment in the beginning, there cannot be a full circle of payment to the COTC. But then we're not opposed to that. If we don't want us to charge for that, we just simply ask for forgiveness on the lease rent fee amount as well. I'm not opposed to that. We can work either way. We're here to negotiate. We're totally open to working either way.
To elaborate further, if there's no charge and fees, then whatever percentage that comes in from the fees, if it exceeds X amount of dollars, a percentage comes to COTC on top of what they're paying on the rent to payment. That's how you can structure this as a nonprofit, because if in the event that somebody comes in and decides that they want to charge a nominal fee, anything over 500, and they make $5,000,
Yes.
you know, 75% comes to us on top of the rent to payment, and that 500 on the rental comes. So you're really looking at a higher percentage of rental.
You made Mr. Cruz smile. I'm not too sure why. But just so that we're operating in clear, that was our initial proposal, was to do the profit sharing. That was initially, we never wanted to walk away with money. We wanted to make sure we paid the bills, but it was fair. That's why we incorporated the percentage in the initial proposal, is keep the actual nominal fee. I believe it was, where's that, 500 and 5%. So we're making money, you guys are making money. And really, that was from the start. That was exactly what we came up with prior to meeting with Director Cruz and Attorney Miller. That was our initial proposal, was giving you 500 plus the percentage. It was only at the request, I believe, of Mr. Miller, or his, not request, but suggestion, that the percentage be removed and a solid number be replaced with that. But we've always been open to sharing any proceeds. As long as the bills are paid, the facility can pay for itself, then of course you guys get more money. We've always been operating that way from day one. We've never asked anything more. It was just at the advisement of Attorney Miller that segment was removed. If I may, Mr. Cruz, the reason being that he said was the ability for CLTC to track this, the staffing ability for it to be tracked. That was the concern, and that's why the replacement with the solid number. But we're totally open to percentage, nominal fee plus percentage, and quarterly meetings. We're totally open, if the staff can accommodate those meetings, we're totally open to that as well.
If I may, one of the concerns too was the performance in the past, although it's not the same group, but it's the same activity in the same area. So we had issues with tracking and trying to ascertain whether what was being paid was actually what was really earned or not.
So
Like there's a lack of documentation.
we're not talking about the past.
Yeah.
They are accountable to all of this. If in the event that they fail and they violate, this lease can be terminated. I mean, it's still structured in there that it will be terminated.
Correct.
And they understand that. Now, if they decide to open it up for racing, of course, we're gonna know because it'll be publicized. I mean, I got people in the racing community out there that will tell me, hey, this is up for racing. I got a lot of racers, I know a lot of people. So, you know, you're not gonna go about, because, hey, they charged me this, it's gonna be talking down on how much is being charged. It's going to be talking down on who your sponsorship is.
I think maybe what we can
You
do
wanna,
is,
you wanna make sure the accountability is on these guys
of course,
to
So-
report to us, and
So
we would know.
we
Whether
just-
it's quarterly, monthly.
we should probably let you, once we can come to terms of the percentage or monthly, whatever, we can, so that we operate openly, so you don't have to hear the talk of the town or your friends, just give you a listing of the prices.
Wait,
An open listing of
Oh,
entrance
that-
fees,
that
or,
would be-
yeah, I mean, that's why, we don't need to wait for that, we'll present you that information.
Well, that's fine, but I'm saying you gotta have a true accountability, because somebody can drive in and $5 is in the pocket. But your accountability is how many vehicles came in. You don't have the total number of vehicles.
So
You
I
got-
think that
you
would
want
be
a
a,
true, accurate accounting of everything that happens, knowing that these guys are brand new.
I think that's the concern of Attorney Miller and Director
One
Cruz.
thing we're gonna have to agree on is what type of documents will be submitted to ascertain the amount.
There's different,
I mean, you
If they
can
do
file
truck-
your GRTs, you can do
No,
whatever, but,
you can go further,
but also, their process.
you can do further.
Because like you mentioned, one truck can come in, but $5 goes into the pocket. Is it, I mean, if that's how we're going to structure it, one thing that,
I think-
that was, we thought might be fair is like the percentages of the assessed value, right? But although I do understand that it's supposed to be a community type function or events that take place there. But, still we're at a deadlock, like what's gonna be a fair and equitable amount to charge versus how much area. So, Madam Chair, after we've taken Commissioner Bannis and GMA representatives out to see the property, we also propose that we'll take each individual commissioner so that they can have a physical view of the area that of concern, other than just what's on the map. Just so everybody has an idea of, actual how much area from here to there and all that other great stuff. But, if we're gonna go that route, we would probably request, that the board also considers what's gonna be acceptable reports to be submitted.
True.
Are you
So-
going to have your accountant sign off on it? Just so that we're able to ascertain and substantiate, okay, GMA, you filed this in your GRT, your accountant signed this, we do our equation, okay, we're good, right? Just because of what we've experienced in the past. Reports can be made by anybody on Excel, and there's just no authority or no professional who will ascertain, okay, I certify that this is correct. There's gonna be a lot of, I think, work on our end, but also your end in terms of processes.
No, I think we'd be, the difference with us, and you brought up the previous group, was our intent is to open as an open book. There is no intention of hiding in-kind service versus monetary donation. There is no intent. If we receive something, you need to know. That's how I feel. You need to know. It's not an option. You need to know. And that's just the way we should continue to operate with each other. Is you need to know it. And I understand that if you need to pull records from our accountant, it's a certified accountant, go directly to their office and pull it. But we won't even wait for that. We'll provide it for you guys. I mean, that's what we're here to say, is we'll provide those financial statements, the incomings and outgoings. It does require a little bit more time on our efforts, but that's what we're here for. That's all we have is time, you know what I mean? And that's what we're here for, time and effort. So if that's a requirement of CL2C, is the provision of that, of course. That's easy, of course.
That would be appreciated.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, I guess it's up to the board. If the board would like some time to review the edits that were submitted by GMA yesterday, that's really up to you. But for us internally, we have no more information to present, other than we'll schedule the site visits or the site inspections.
I think for now, we can go through what we have and either agree or not agree. That makes at least we can come to a consensus there, or we need to create a subcommittee so that we can sit down and go through this lease agreement with GMA and say, okay, they agree to this, we don't agree to this, or we come to an agreement and we bring it to the board, then we finalize that, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and it becomes a clearer picture of exactly what both parties have agreed upon. and it becomes an easier discussion to say there's no answers or buts or what happened in the past, because what you have just discussed is exactly what was gonna be agreed upon, and there's no surprises at the end of the day.
Is this what we did, the working session? Is that what the
The
proposal
working
is?
no, you got,
We did an initial, like, to come up,
yeah,
so,
Would it be that's, I mean, because I'm new to this whole thing, is that what we're requesting, a working
So what
session
happened
with
was- what
a
happened
couple
was-
board members and
we can only
CLTC
have
staff?
one.
You can only reassign.
Okay, and then it'll be the same with you and the attorney, of course, and then we, all right, let's do the date, what's the date
because
for
then by
that?
that time you already, I mean, originally what happened was that you guys sat down, brought in your concerns, they drafted, they have to present it to us.
Oh, no, I'm totally open for, let's do
So
it.
even if
What's
they,
the date for that?
even if
Could
you
we
came
get
back
that?
and say, oh, they did this and they did that, you still gotta get approval from the commission itself.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah,
we have
of
to make
course.
the understanding, because,
Yeah.
you know, we can't just say, oh, he
Oh,
said
you-
this, he said that.
Oh, yeah, no, of course,
You know,
yeah.
so-
If we can just get a date on that, let's do it.
We'll consult with Attorney Miller, because I think the initial working session should be amongst the board members, so that you guys can come to some kind of agreement of the area and the amount. Because even if we hold a working session like we did with Commissioner Ibanez included in that working session, we may not come out, we may come to a deadlock again
Unless
In a
you
sense.
give specific authority
to the
to,
commissioner.
for me, or whoever to negotiate and report back that this is what was agreed upon and bring it to the commissioner to basically ratify what was decision was made. Then you got the final of the negotiating.
If the
Again,
board-
Madam Chair, we just have to make sure that we are aware that this lease agreement, this law basically says that we shall enter a lease agreement.
So the board,
Unfortunately,
Come to some agreement.
that's where our hands are tied. But, you
today,
know,
in terms of area size and amount, then that would be great. But
Well-
if not, then we'll pick it up next month. But definitely,
What does the commission feel? Are they looking at a certain percentage?
It says shall negotiate.
Yeah, we're negotiating, but we have to enter into a lease agreement. And that's a must. Unfortunately, because the commercial law that was created says it should be on a competitive bid. In the lease agreements, we have to make it very clear that even if the law says this, does not set the president's other lease to go through a non-competitive bidding process based on the commercial law. So that's also going to have to be part of the law itself. And just so you guys are aware, we want to make sure that that's clear, because we don't want anybody to come back and say, hey, you get GMA sole source, non-competitive. We don't want that.
Oh, for future.
That's,
Yeah, future.
I
We
get
want
it,
that.
better to be safe, no,
Because
I understand that.
I mean, right now, to be honest with you, if in the event that this property was put up for competitive bidding, and the legislature actually stepped away and not have gotten involved and let the commercial law take into effect, we would have competitive biddings out there to
Correct.
go through the process and say, okay, we wouldn't be negotiating, we would just say, here's X amount of acres, you know. And the reason why we brought this up was just to see exactly where the previous, how it was previously structured. And from the past, now that we have a new GMA, they're gonna come in and probably restructure all of this the way they want to redo it. Even if it's existing, they can change everything up they want to do. But that's,
I want to ask a question on the Guam Raceway Federation, their first 20 years, was that the legislature approved?
it was authorized by law to
By law.
execute a commercial lease with GR.
Okay, so same thing as what's happening
In
now.
a sense, yes. It's just that the initial law was very detailed in terms of area and all that other great stuff. This one is, I guess, vague, I guess. It just says shall. But definitely, Madam Chair, we'll probably schedule the site visits on a Monday with Commissioner Ibanez and GMA, and then whomever would like to go Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, just so that everybody has advanced time to if they need to sign leave or do what needs to be done, we'll afford that.
Okay,
So what happened on the first 20 years? And then the legislature had another 50-year lease?
So initially they gave I think the lease was for 20 or 25, I don't really
Yeah.
remember. There was another,
They were
law that
given
was
an,
passed, for 50 years. And then there was other bills that came after that, but, didn't go anywhere. So the most recent one was the amendment to the 2025 Budget Act, Public Law 37-125.
this one,
Yeah, so that's what we're working with today.
yeah, I know. But to compare what was authorized versus now,
The
well, I
initial-
don't think that's gonna make a big important because the law is very straightforward. The lease 7161-R10, so whatever that lease portion is to lease that lot or a portion of it. And that's the only thing there within that law is it was so clear that they put the shall lease a portion of all, and they put the legal description, and it doesn't make reference to anything else other than, whether we lease a portion and GMA understands that we can sublease, subdivide it into smaller lots for our beneficiary, or we lease the full amount under the conditions that we come to negotiating terms and conditions.
so when can you do
The site visit, so we're
We need
looking,
public notice, right?
no. So, Monday we'll do the initial, Commissioner Herrera, would you like Tuesday, Wednesday,
I'll
Thursday?
take the last day.
Okay, Tuesday, Wednesday, no need to go? Commissioner Jayo, would you like to take a site visit?
So
So Tuesday?
I'll come later.
Okay.
so the purpose of the site visit is to determine your acreage, or?
For us to GPS the
To determine the area.
region, so we can come back and determine the area. But since one commissioner is being afforded the opportunity, I guess to get a physical view, we want to offer it to everybody else too.
But I think we're trying to get an understanding of, we're looking at the full lot?
No, the area that was
The,
Under
detailed in
205
blue
acres.
or green, the 105 acres.
Do you think?
Yeah, but I think the whole concern here is we gotta lease out a portion of all of lots, and so if you're gonna go out there and do their portion, what they decide to look at, then that's just gonna clarify exactly what these parcels are gonna be. Because within the blue lot, and this here, if you look at the way this is structured, this is your drag strip, which is the blue, the long one, the rectangle.
Yeah.
And then you draw a
Come
line down this way, and it becomes parcel A, B, C, D.
I believe because when Commissioner Garrido made a motion of 102 acres, there was concern that it might have been 105. So to get an accurate,
But that was shot down already. That motion was no longer there, so we can focus on either assignment inspection to see how the property looks, if we're looking at the lease agreement here, and make that determination of what it is, because according to the review that GMA looked at on premises 1, that site inspection was good or poor. Page 2, he indicated whether it's good. We say poor, we say satisfactory, he says on, and then we're just gonna go, we can determine that to get a clear picture of a pre-inspection of what the property looks like. That would address premises 1.
In the efforts to conserve time and energy, do you think we'd be able to just join you guys on this preliminary inspection? We can provide the vehicles to actually conquer that type of terrain, especially if Mr. Danis wants to see the entirety of the property, because on a regular pickup, you're not gonna be able to view this property in its entirety, especially given the weather conditions, the overgrowth, and the storm. Nobody's been up there to open up the access trails. But if we're there, we're able to provide the vehicles for you guys to actually see the full scale of the property. And we're more than willing to do that.
I have my four by four truck that can take them and turn it.
There's just some areas we won't be able to access because it was gated with padlocks. We didn't cut the padlock. We don't know if anybody else cut the padlock, but definitely, it's, I think we can access it with our vehicles, and if need be,
Let me know.
we're willing to
We're open to it.
hike that trail.
Side by side's really the way to go.
Yeah, cause like,
Around there.
on that back section there, like if you wanted to view the property in its entirety, I'd say a pickup is too big because of the way the foliage has
Like
been.
after the first coral pit, right?
Or even anything beyond, that blue line, like,
Okay.
to the north, that bottom blue line there. Anything beyond that, the overgrowth is substantial.
Okay.
So, but if you need, more than willing to volunteer, you know what I mean? To do it safely, of course.
I don't know, I still don't see a need to inspect the property in its entirety since we're downsizing it.
We
Well,
just
we're
wanted
not
to.
downsizing anything yet because,
Well, that's the proposal to downsize.
well, the,
And this inspection is to go out so we can actually plot whether it's 102 or 105 acres.
the recommendation, the motion that was approved was already shut down, or was not
No,
approved.
that was a different motion.
I guess maybe one way we can look at it is GMA is proposing they can work with that green or that area within the blue outline. Although we're unsure of whether it's 100, 102, or 105. I guess this site visit can allow us to GPS the corners of this flag lot, and then we can present it to the board, and this is what approximately the area might be.
That's fine, the pre-inspection report's fine, going out there, doing, plotting, all that, but it won't make a difference in terms of total acres and all that, because in their proposal is that trash strip and everything within this map itself. That means if you're incorporating this trash strip, you look at the blue, that's blue. And then you put a square coming down this way, that's everything within what we were discussing.
That's the 100 to 105 acres.
Yes, sir.
Whatever total acres that includes.
Now, the total acreage for the racetrack, the basic lot is 250 acres.
252.
Or 252.
I think having an idea of the area size may also lead to the board considering what could be the potential rate, right?
But we still gotta identify what parcel, because you can say, you can go out there and say that whole square. And then that means COTC has to go out there and block off the panhandle and say this property, this boundary is for usage. Everything else is not for usage. That's the cost that we have to go out there and put barriers out there.
If in the event that the board does decide a portion of, I know coming from us internally, we're gonna recommend that it's severed out to a survey. That is the only way to accurately assess real property taxes. So, you know, it's, for full disclosure,
Well, that
that's
needs to
what
be
we
paid.
intend to
Actually,
propose.
that's pretty okay, because they'll pay the property taxes too, on top of their monthly rent too.
That was the
Yes,
initial
we will.
agreement.
And
If it's part of
what
our
is the
bills.
property tax?
So I think the last assessed DRT value was 8.9 million for 252 acres. But prior to the next board,
8,000 a year, I think, about 8,000, so.
so prior to the next board meeting, we'll make sure that we have an updated DRT assessed land value, so that everybody will have an idea what the value is today, instead of 2 years ago.
We're definitely willing to pay our fair share. If you obtain a certain amount of property on this particular lot or the lot in its entirety, we are definitely willing to pay the taxes, and it's just the right thing to do.
Okay.
We just gotta be responsible.
So,
It'll be,
if
but
I'm-
the site inspection, when do you think we could do that?
We're looking at Monday, but we'll send an email tomorrow.
So if I may ask,
Monday, the
based
16th.
upon your agreement to pay property tax, which can come up to what, 8,000 roughly?
Could be.
And to pay your monthly rent to, assuming that we agree to a lease of 1,000, where will your funds come from? Because the financial statements don't show it, your business plan don't show it. Where will your money come in to pay for 8,000?
So that's where Mr. Garrido asked me to become extremely creative. And like I said in the beginning, we would have to charge a membership fee. And we would have to exclude on Exhibit 2, line item number 2, we'd have to exclude the waiver of every fee. I mean, that's just, like I said, it's just math.
So-
Incomings and outgoings have to match.
So in essence, the people of Guam are paying for the property tax.
Exactly.
So why don't you open it for free? And then you guys pay the GMA,
I'm not sure how that math adds up.
because
It doesn't add up in
for the
math.
benefit of the public, you wanna lease the property out,
Correct.
pay the property tax on top of your lease payment, open it
Yes.
for the public's use.
Oh, yeah, but like,
We found,
I think the key term everybody keeps using is viability and feasibility. Money coming in, there's no way for money to go out if there's no money coming in. And that's simple mathematics, dealing with anybody. There's no way to receive a product if you're not paying for a product. And there's no way for that product to be reimbursed to its manufacturer if there's nobody at the tail end of the cycle paying for the service. So really, we're just creating a big cycle, and that's really what it is. There has to be some kind of income to be paying you guys, to be paying rev tax, to be paying the maintenance, and of course, the insurance, which
So
is
there-
probably the largest portion of this. But there has to be some sort of
right,
money generating in. That's just basic
so you're
that's basic
agreeing,
economics.
so you-
Without the input of any type of money, it doesn't work. That's basic economics. It has to come in so it can go right back out. But what's coming in is what the public can afford, and then what's going out is what COTC requires.
so you are still in agreement to do an escalation of fees?
I'm not sure on the extent of the escalation. I think that's open to interpretation. If it was something called, I think Ms. Attorney Miller made it real simple. It's just a portion, just portion escalating. I'm not too sure. If you're talking about
Fee
escalation.
percentage wise, let's say you bring in anything above 2,500, whether it be, and we break it down by
Oh, yeah.
activities. So if you do, today, this Friday, you're doing drag strip,
Mhm.
and it's open to the public, and you're gonna charge a minimum fee, $5, as you say,
Okay.
per person,
Mhm.
per car,
Mhm.
which car could be an additional $10, depending upon what they're gonna be bringing in.
We'll change that because that's how it was previously done. We made them pay for a car, but the additional for a driver. So we're gonna assume the car comes with a driver. We'll minimize that fee. We'll
Okay, so
change
you
it,
already
yeah.
know where we're going at, you already
Correct.
know, you already have the idea of what you're gonna be charging per individual, because you have, I
Not-
mean, I
not
led
yet.
to it already,
not
and you
yet.
already knew, so that.
Not yet because we don't know the fee from COTC.
No.
So we can't really
True,
put in
but-
black and white what that fee's gonna be. But we just would like to see the,
So you would,
the fee schedule change from its prior organization. Because previously they were charging for a car,
plus,
plus the charging for a driver, but I
Plus-
wanna assume a car should come with a driver. So, yeah, there was.
not
so we-
necessarily so, because I could provide the car and you could be my driver.
But then that would seem to simplify things, because we just like to do simple math, right? I'm not a economist or anything like that, so to me, let's keep it simple. I would assume one car comes with one driver, one operator.
Is that about 20 bucks?
I'm not
Well,
sure.
you're not-
It depends, I
If you're not an
mean,
experienced driver, I mean, that's how racing federations are out there, right? Is that if you look at the big ones out
But-
there, they always have the car, and they souped up the car, but then you have your driver who's gonna take this car out.
correct.
So, you know, you have to take that
Correct,
logic out there.
Oh,
So,
yeah, no, totally understand, but then.
taking in consideration all that fees, right?
Okay, let's hear
You
it.
have an idea really of what you can generate from there. So whatever percentage that they make can still come back to CLTC. At the same time, you can still help them pay for the property tax and their monthly rental.
Yes, sir.
It's just a matter of structuring in such a way that it benefits to both parties. What fee? I mean, so, you know,
One thing
I
wanted
totally
to-
agree with that. I totally agree with your suggestion.
Yeah, let me
If we
keep
make,
this
if
real
we
quick.
make money.
Okay,
you
so-
make money.
so everyone knows, if you race like an NHRA race, you're gonna pay like $200. What we're doing is our goal is just to pay the bills. So we're charging a fraction of that, we'll do $1 a pass, you know, that's done previously. But if you're charging $20, $5, $40, that's a fraction of what you would pay at an NHRA drag strip that has full-time employees, you know, that's not what this is ran by volunteers. So that's when we say it's free, we still have to generate revenues to pay the bills, but we're not charging $0 to the racers to compete, but we're charging an incredibly discounted rate.
So if something happened, liability, somebody sues, essentially life insurance, and you're not charging what you say you're gonna charge, where's the money gonna come from?
If somebody sues.
So you already have your liability insurance.
Correct.
It's only gonna cover X amount of things, you know? Is it gonna cover, depends on how you structure your liability insurance,
Correct.
okay? That's gonna come out from profits that you made,
Of course.
okay? Because you also gotta think of property tax,
Or emergency funds or anything.
okay? Now, what about the other scenario basis, something were to happen, you know, that the insurance don't cover?
Well, there's a lot of theoreticals that can be thrown out there. I think it's important to focus on probabilities as well. And
Because I'm more worried about-
the
I'm more
onus-
worried about your
the
cost,
onus-
right?
The onus on us would be to ensure that we have quality insurance in an issue like that. Would be to make sure we have quality insurance.
So, they bring up a good point is that you must have some sort of fund reserves within GMA, and I brought that up in the financial review that I did, is that by relying heavily on sponsorship, then you're actually creating more, I mean, the margins are very thin. So again, we have to make sure that they're able to afford, and if we have to implement a fund reserves into the lease agreement to cover any unexpected fees, then so be it. But we really need to come to an agreement here because a lot of it here just boils down to the business plan. They're more of a highly structured in sponsorship. I know I broke that all down for you guys.
Yes,
Madam Mayor,
yeah.
I think we're like kind of in an impasse at where we're at right now. We keep going around in circles. We're not progressing anywhere. First and foremost, the first thing that needs to be done is we need to determine the actual area that we would consider for a lease. And that will be done when our director goes out with a representative or two from the racing community and Commissioner Ibanez and Attorney Norman to go out to the site and do a assessment with a GPS. And then we know exactly or approximately the area that would be needed so that we can discuss rental. Right now, we don't know whether you need a yard or a foot or a mile, okay? And prices escalate depending on the size of what you need. And it also decreases depending on the size that you need, depending on which way of the spectrum you're going. So all this discussion really is like, we're not really getting anywhere with it. It's just a vicious circle right now. Let's find out what the area is, and then let's move on from there.
Madam Chair, by me, coming out of the lease, the total lot percent of premises, we already know that this is what they're after.
Right. But we
We
don't
already, it don't matter where you want the 5 acres, 10 acres, it's a portion off. They already agreed that they're not into leasing the full amount. We can basically put into lease agreement that says, this portion that they want is what we're gonna lease out. At the same time, what Acting Director, Mr. Cruz said is that it has to go out there and survey.
Eventually.
and that's gonna take time to get a survey. But we must come into conclusion here is that we gotta lease this property by law. Two, whether we lease 5 acres, 10 acres, 105 acres, 252 acres, beside the point. What is GMA wanting to lease? We already know what they wanna lease. We already know what their points are. They say this, we know already based on this map, this is what we're looking at. Same thing, same process, it's just that we don't have this portion here where what was that yellow one you marked?
For the bike.
That's the mountain bike trail.
The mountain bike track, they eliminated that mountain bike track. So if we're gonna go in there and say, let's lease a portion, we gotta be prepared to survey it, and do we have the funds to survey it?
First of all, we do need to determine what is the approximate area that's going to be needed. And that has to be done with a GPS for now. If it becomes more complex, then yes, I see a need for a surveyor, but right now, at this point, we just want to calculate the approximate area needed. And is it 102, is it 105, is it 60 acres, is it 48 acres? We're not really sure yet. But I see the value of them wanting that blue area is to keep it contiguous, as opposed to our representation of where you have gaps between the activities. So let's calculate the area first, and then we can move on from there. But until we know the area, we can't even come up with an estimated price for a rental fee, because rental fees are charged by either, if it's in the store, by square feet. If it's vacant land, it's by area, which is square meters.
I think that's an unregistered property when I last checked with the PTR.
Well, it doesn't matter whether it's registered or
No, it does
unregistered.
matter.
Right now, we need to find out an approximate of how big an area they need.
So unregistered property with everything now ongoing. Remember, we have 200 and, how many?
52.
252 lots
Oh,
that are on,
Size.
Yes.
No, that's the
223
size.
lessees.
223 lessees that are on unregistered property and activities.
That's a different story, that's not here.
Okay, we'll make the judge decide.
So Madam, I will put a motion on the table that we direct our director with Norman and 2 officials from the Guam Raceway and Commissioner Ibanez to go up and take GPS readings of the blue area that is being proposed for the lease.
The only concern of Attorney Miller's, if he's available.
I see. Oh,
But we don't really need Norman there.
uh, 2 commissioners cannot be together and, no, it's only one based on the law. Yeah.
If it's for, well, you make a motion, right?
I made a motion.
So I basically say no. I'm not agreeing to the motion.
To do the visit?
You don't need to do this. You don't, I mean, we're trying to GPS everything. We have not determined whether we're going to subdivide this property. If our intent there is to determine how much will they give GMA, what are we gonna do with the other portion? Because we have to come up with a surveyor based upon what Acting Director Mr. Cruz said. If we're going out there just to isolate how much area this is, this lease agreement can come in and say, this portion, parcel A, and everything encompassing this whole area in the lease agreement.
Yeah.
And with the understanding that when we do decide to go for a surveyor, that they understand that we will go out there and subdivide this property accordingly and down the line. So you really can do a portion
The
of
law-
not something.
The law that we're being directed here does not incorporate the surplus property. All right? The law is directed at accommodating the Guam Racer Motorsport to lease a portion or the entire basic lot in its entirety. And we've already agreed that we're going to go with a portion of,
No, we haven't made a
not the
motion.
entirety. Yes, we have.
The motion fell.
No, not today, in prior board meetings.
No, I don't think that fulfilled.
I think those motions that passed were specific to
That's
laws
for-
that were passed before.
Ask
Or bills.
Mr. Herrera if he's going to agree or disagree.
Which one?
To go ahead and
The blue,
Well, we have the map for the 252 acres. We have a,
we don't need the map for 252, we just need to find out an area that they're.
which is that area about
The
one.
blue.
Yeah. Remember Mr. Birch is saying they're okay to do 105 or
Yes,
102.
so to go out and GPS those points to confirm whether it's 102 or 105.
Okay, if Commissioner Banis is not gonna go, then I'll go with the GPS. You're gonna have
No,
that
no,
here?
no, 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 this
No,
is
no.
in the motion.
Oh, to
I-
go out?
No, his motion was to go out, taking me, a member of, 2 members of GMA, Attorney Miller, Acting Director, Mr. Cruz, to go and GPS the blue portion
Okay.
to determine the total
Oh, in that area?
in that area.
Okay.
Now, the concern that was brought out was, what is the total percentage of acreage, right? But
Right.
we as a board haven't decided where we want to make a motion to lease the whole entire or just this portion. In our case, GMA has already agreed that they're more concerned of just
The portion?
a portion, a part off, not the full amount. Whether you have 10 acres, 5 acres, whatever it comes up to, is not gonna make a difference. It's just the determination of where and what usage are you gonna use. In my eyes, the acreage only comes into play if you're gonna subdivide this property and say we're gonna subdivide this property and the excess is gonna go for our beneficiaries. So we can put our lease, our residential lease, our agricultural lease up there, right? The other concern that you have is.
The motion is to go out and do a GPS on the property as defined by the blue perimeter.
Commissioner Ibanez to go out with us.
Yeah, well, if Commissioner's not gonna go, then I'll make a motion,
No,
second the
no, no,
motion.
no, it has
Oh,
nothing to do with him going or not.
Oh,
It has to do with the blue area in the map.
yeah, of course, we need to do a preliminary at
Well,
least.
that's my motion, that we need to go out there and do it. Now, are you for it or against it?
Of course I am.
So you vote for it.
Synonymous, yes?
Straight yes or no answer?
Yes.
Okay, so my motion passes.
The chair won't pass through. Hold on. Madam Chair,
Call for
you
the
tally.
vote,
I can go.
Can you make that motion? Can you
Just clarify,
clarify that motion again?
if
The
it's,
motion is to go out and determine the approximate area of the blue outline on that map. With, in attendance, having our director, legal counsel if available, if he wants to go, and
Understood.
1 or 2 representatives from the motorsport, and you,
And the
since you have
surveyor.
not been
Right.
out there to see the area.
And the surveyor. Pierce.
No surveyors yet.
Pierce can,
Yeah.
Pierce is with us.
Pierce
He
is-
said,
Clarify.
staff.
You're-
Yeah, staff.
Pierce is part of the survey.
So, Madam Chair, with that motion from Commissioner Garrido, Commissioner Herrera, are you in agreement with what
He
is
voted
being?
yes.
Well, he needs clarification because he was sitting minister.
let me ask you a question, your Commissioner Ibanez. Are you concerned on the partials?
No, I'm not concerned with the partial because their map and what they're looking for, they made it very clear they don't want the full lot.
The
So,
252
They made it
acres.
very clear, so if you look at the way this drawing is presented, the panhandle coming down, that they're encompassing everything, which we labeled, on our side, we labeled it for identification purposes, so we know what type of activity, events will be happening and where these events will be happening. You know, so if if they went out, the track strip is over here, parcel 6 is your mini, go-kart racing or whatever. I'm not concerned because you gotta encompass everything. You got all these other easements here. You got all these areas that has to be transversed into and out. So all of this whole property here, whatever this is, we can label it in there and label that, you know, this portion, this portion, this portion. We don't have, we have a full lot. And if you're gonna go out there and say, okay, you're gonna lease out 105 acres or 75 acres, well, you have to identify where your acres are
Right
at,
there.
right? Right,
Right there on that map.
true, but you don't have a actual survey to give you
We're
that.
not, we don't need an actual survey to have an approximate area.
You can say a portion of.
Yes,
That's it, that's all,
it's
that's
an
all.
approximate, it's an approximate,
That's
it's not a
exactly-
precise number.
No, that's the reason why I'm going at, you can say a portion of lots.
That's
7,
why,
6. You don't need to
David,
put
can you
acres.
please confirm whether you're for it or against it?
Yeah, I said yes.
Okay, well, he said you weren't sure.
Oh. Yeah,
So take a vote,
I want
Madam
to
Chair,
confirm
please.
the size.
Quick, before
Yes.
you do your tally, is it specifically Commissioner Ibanez or any commissioner?
Well, for this strip, Commissioner Ibanez, since we can't all go together,
Okay.
you can.
I'm pretty much aware of the place, so.
Yeah, but if commissioner's not.
If he
able to go,
can
I
attend,
I
then
can go.
is it okay Commissioner Herrera attends?
Well, the motion's ready to approve, I'll go. I mean, it's ready, you guys make the motion.
You can, what do you call that? When Commissioner Ibanez leaves the premises, you can call him to come down and,
We'll back you.
No, I
Yeah.
can be on another vehicle, right? Because we're not gonna be communicating.
We'll consult with Miller, what's the,
because that's one way of, when you finish your business with Ibanez and them, then he can come later
okay.
and you
We'll take
can.
another tour.
Okay, that's perfect.
December 16th,
After-
is that the date?
Uh,
Monday? What time? December 16th, what time?
Let me make sure that's the
That's the next Monday.
Wait, wait.
Oh,
Wait.
sorry, Madam Chair.
We'll send you an email by tomorrow, the time.
The time, okay. I'll clear my date for the 16th.
Make that the morning time,
Of the 16th?
yeah. The motion, I second. I mean, I
He said-
voted yes.
So take a up or down vote.
Yeah.
All in favor?
All in favor say aye.
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 Oppose?
Aye.
One opposed.
Opposed.
One opposed.
Okay.
Not me.
No, I know, but you just have to say it.
Monday in the morning.
So,
I like the
are
morning, it's
you
nice up there.
Madam Chair, so
ending
what-
this meeting or?
No, what this basically does here, Madam Chair, is number one, when you look at your classification of the proposed lease,
Yeah,
what's gonna happen there is once they do a GPS and provide a percentage or in
Right, yeah.
total acres, that amount will be listed in here of lot 712 containing a total area off to be leased out. So you have to be very specific
Right,
of
Not
what
to
you're
exceed.
not to
Because-
exceed X amount and only a portion off, if this is what the board is proposing to do. That means the item number 1 premises would be very clear,
yeah.
delineated.
And also, the lot 7161-R1 will change.
Right.
Because it'll be 7161-1-R2 or something like that.
Okay.
It'll change.
But
When-
it'd be not an actual survey,
It
it'll be a
would
data
have to-
dump.
No, it would have to be an actual survey.
Yeah,
So if you're gonna do an actual survey, do we have the funds to complete a survey
Well,
and allow,
At- at
or
this
are we gonna
time-
have them still operate the,
at this time, we require our residential and agriculture lessees to conduct surveys. We don't have money to pay for any surveys at this time, so the expense will be shouldered by
short of the
GMI.
units?
GMA, sorry, not GMI,
Roughly, right now, the surveyors charge about maybe 5,000 per acre, about 1,000 per, on an acre. So that's on an acre at 5 times. But you know, you can have installment payments, so
So the onus is gonna be on them to survey the property after,
that.
after this motion that we just did, then we have to go out there and do that.
We will recommend only because our agriculture and our residential lessees at this time pay for their own surveys. We don't have any money to pay for any surveys.
Makes two of us.
But you know, you can,
5,000 an acre, so that's,
I like the agreement we did on the working session with, because I think it was more speaking to the tone of Commissioner Llanes. You were actually speaking to the same tone as Director Cruz and the legal counsel of Attorney Miller as far as subdivision and what comes with it. And I get what you're going at. I kind of agree with your point and the two's point during our working session because it alleviates the necessity. So I definitely agree with that. But I'm glad we got progress.
yeah,
And I'm glad, I mean, it's still part of negotiations, I love it. I thank you for today, I really do appreciate
Are
it.
we still moving into, I mean, that addresses number one, right? What about number two?
yeah.
Shall we continue forward, or are we gonna,
you guys wanna decide on it and take time to read everything in its entirety? Or it's up to you, the board to decide.
I mean, we already know that it's sponsorship driven. They'll take percentage fees, they'll do all their accounting. Aside from whatever we agree for a monthly payment, they're willing to pay on top of that. You said 16, right? You're gonna call me on the 16, right?
We'll email you tomorrow.
No, you better just.
To remind, yes.
Because, you know,
Anytime.
We'll keep it like 9 o'clock, okay?
Do you want
Maybe 9:30, because I gotta drop the kids to school.
So 10 o'clock.
no, I can do I can do 7:30, 6:30.
No, 10 o'clock, because the kids.
We gotta learn. Yeah, no, 10
So-
o'clock's perfect.
Okay.
Commissioner Manis, we want to, we would like to review this and come to the meeting on the 16th.
No, not the 16th. The site inspection is the 16th. We don't have, based on the pre-attendance that was done by Dexter, we won't have a quorum for December 19th. So we anticipate the third Thursday of January. But definitely this matter will be included in the agenda. But just to recap, Mr. Birch had mentioned that they would, that the reason they struck out item 2 on page 15 is because that's part of their revenue source, if not the
Right.
main revenue source. And to Commissioner Ibanez's comment, do you guys want to agree to remove that item number 2 on page 15? Or do you guys want to maintain that item?
Well, you recall that I questioned a nonprofit status, and I want them to give our attorney the papers, their papers on their status as a nonprofit
For evacuation.
for
Yeah.
evaluation.
That's the Articles of Incorporation.
It's your certificate will suffice.
I'm sorry.
Joey, the strikeouts would be eliminated.
Okay, I'll even.
To be
Can you
removed.
say, what is your?
But they're only discussing item 2 on page 15.
On page 15.
Yeah, I think your certificate should suffice, because it'll say 501.
501(c)(3).
501.
It's a 501c3. I checked.
501(c)(3).
1022 form.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is, Madam Chair, but we'll definitely provide you, like I said, it's part of the, they sent it on our chat and.
We are a very active board. I can't tell you how many times GMA's met.
So, we will definitely provide the articles of incorporation and as well as, or you said the certification
Should
of
be fine,
approval
because
by
it says
DRT?
What,
What-
what
So you
governs
need,
their
you need your
nonprofit.
articles of corporation, your bylaws, then your whatever.
You also get
whatever-
like a DRT
The
certificate.
DRT, sir? Yeah, we'll definitely provide, that's,
That should be fine.
Of course.
Provide it.
okay,
Everything at the board should be fine.
yes. So are we recessing this to another day?
Madam Chair, we request that this meeting does not be recessed again, so that we have the opportunity to prepare a new agenda for January. If we continue to recess this meeting, we won't be able to discuss any new matters that we have lined up for January, and they do entail some constituent matters that we will be presenting to the board. So we ask that the board consider not recessing, just adjourn, and then we start a new meeting in January.
Are we to be on the agenda?
Definitely, we will put this matter in the agenda. If you guys decide to recess, then we maintain only discussion for the GMA matter. If you decide to adjourn, we can discuss GMA and other matters that we have already are preparing for January.
Is that for the residential?
In terms of our application processing, yes.
The 25?
That's what I was gonna ask you. I know, Madam Chair, we brought up about having a subcommittee
Yeah.
to go over this lease agreement. I'm not too sure whether the commissioners are in favor of doing such, so that when we do come into the next meeting, since we're not recessing, that it becomes agenda driven. But I'll leave that up to the commissioners to make that determination.
What's your take on it, commissioners?
Repeat that again, please.
So if we go into the new year and not recess this, then there are multiple agenda items that needs to be discussed. We may not give GMA enough time to go through the whole entire lease agreement, because the whole point is we have to negotiate. And by doing that, we'll be taking up so much time from others, and then they only have a certain amount of time to go in. That then pushes us back again to another meeting. So the question was, are we looking at doing a subcommittee where we're now focusing on the lease agreements and negotiating, where we then come in and say, okay, Madam Chair, this is what was agreed upon, and then the commissioners come in and say, okay, we agree. But that's, again, that's up to how you guys, how us as the commissioners would like to take a look at this lease agreement moving forward. There are a lot of, we already know exactly where GMA is focusing on. I mean, they are already in agreement that, maybe they don't want take away the no charges and add, instead of making it free for all, they're willing to pay everything and add a percentage cost of all their fees. But again, that's up to the commissioners of what they want to do.
Do you need that?
Madam Chair, may I? Based on the acting director's recommendation, I move that we table this until our January hearing,
Yeah.
and we pick it up from there.
No, it's not table. If you move to January, you're coming to grand.
No, we're not going to,
Hmm?
we're gonna adjourn.
Well, we
I guess
table
the
it until our
discussion.
January meeting.
So we're not recessing?
Understood.
Uh,
Are we having the working session that we were talking about earlier? I think that's what Mr. Vance was asking, are we having the, but I think Attorney Miller said it could only be with
One?
with only one, so it's not a quorum. We're more than willing to meet on the side on our own time with you guys, if you guys are allowing that. Just so we don't take up anybody's time in the next meeting.
Correct.
So you need make a motion for a subcommittee, is that one?
To adjourn and to have a
A
subcommittee?
subcommittee?
Or do
You're gonna need a motion to appoint
A
one of
subcommittee.
to be part of the subcommittee.
So Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to create a subcommittee to include Commissioner Ibanez and from Motorsport Association. That, like,
And myself and
oh,
Attorney.
and Acting Director Joey Cruz and
you need
Attorney Reed Miller.
do you need anyone else?
Well, if we have more than two, it might be construed as a meeting, so.
No, I meant in your side, the
uh,
staff.
And if any,
And the staff,
add
staff support.
You really want me in there? Yes.
Yeah, that's a big help, so.
Well, you can hash it out with him.
Already, we hashed it out.
I can place you on the field trip. I can tell you the, but that's the motion, Madam Chair,
It's gonna attack me.
What about,
for the, okay. So,
Who's that?
Commissioner Herrera made a motion to form a subcommittee.
Oh, yes, form a subcommittee, yes, we should form a subcommittee, I am in agreement to that. This helps move this negotiating forward.
yes.
This provides more discussions so that by the time we come into our next meeting, we're able to do an action-driven, meaning this is what was presented and this is what we're going, that we agreed to, and we come into the board and it becomes action-driven, yes. Because everything has been resolved through your committee.
in other words, the agreement is acceptable to both parties, but it would have to be voted on.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe not acceptable to both parties, but it has the potential to be acceptable to both parties.
I like that.
Um,
Meaning, by the time we come in.
You're correct, that's
Yeah.
right.
By the time we
Because
come
the
in.
board
we-
hasn't agreed on anything.
Right, so
No,
this is
that's
a
what I'm saying.
preliminary-
Yeah, so, man, by the time we're done with the subcommittee and we met and we ironed out everything that they want and what we want, and we come to the meeting of the minds, and we both agree, what's gonna be presented is, on that day will be GMA and a member of the commissioner met. We discuss items, section paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is what was in agreement, A. And then we just proceed down to getting, presenting it to the commissioners for their review and approval. Because they already agreed to it, we said this is what we're looking at doing, and bottom line is commissioners approved.
Okay, all those in
Just
favor?
go ahead.
You have to take the tally.
When you do something like this,
Do we have to create a agenda, put it out in the public? Do we do
No.
subcommittee?
No.
the subcommittee is just going to do the work.
Just really discussions and back and forth.
Preliminary
But-
assessment and research.
But when it is presented to the board, we can, and we have concerns on,
It could be
Yeah.
amended,
it could be amended.
Or review,
Well, yeah.
or not even accepted,
right.
Huh?
or not even accepted.
That's right.
I will see you next month, but anyways.
Or we'll recess.
So,
For the record,
Commissioner Ibanez.
we need a second.
Commissioner Ibanez, you second the motion, right? For
To
subcommittee?
create a subcommittee?
Yes, yes. Take the tally.
you second
Oh, yeah, I
No,
need
he
a motion.
made the motion,
Oh, he
Commissioner
seconded,
Ibanez
okay.
All those
seconded.
in favor?
it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
One, Aye. Thank you.
All, everybody, unanimous.
All in favor?
It's a study group.
I like it.
It passed. And,
Do we have a date on this?
Not yet, but
yes,
We do?
how come you just hit it for,
January, what's the,
Another subcommittee.
we don't have a date yet, but
It was saying
we'll get one
that's up
soon.
to you guys. That's not us.
Busy tomorrow?
We just have to determine.
Miller's
attendance.
availability.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Next meeting, January
It's January what?
16.
Oh.
Table, or make, ready for adjourn, motion.
He's motioning to adjourn, but I motion to table
Okay,
until January meeting.
okay.
Which Tracy means that we're creating a brand new agenda for January 16.
We
Include
included in the agenda.
all business,
Yeah.
GNA.
Under all business.
January 16th.
Madam Chair, may I also include
Second.
into our agenda for January 2016? I would put it in the, what's that, GICC lease agreement. That will provide your inspection reports.
You got something to
We're
report
going
us?
to have one more site visit and
Can I find?
we'll invite Commissioner Ibanez because he hasn't been there yet, so to give him a little insight. We'll probably do it the same day as GM 7161.
Okay. All in favor for adjourning?
Aye.
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 Wait, no one seconded.
Yeah, we don't second.
Commissioner Herrera made the
I
motion.
made a motion
Need a
to
second.
adjourn, Madam Chair.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Man, that was a long meeting.
Now you can hit the gavel hard.
Time, one more time.
Time, please.
Merry Christmas.
4:24. Madam Chair, 4:24.
Huh?
4:24.
4:24.